This broadcast of the Premier Endurance League on 24/7 Sim Services is brought to you by Gamer Gear Direct, the simulation experts, and by Virtual Motorsports Mentor, where even champions get coached.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and hello, and welcome to the first ever championship decider here for the Premier Endurance League. Three of us here in the booth tonight: Scott Rankin, Peter Baxter, and Keegan Sutton-Baker, as well as Nolan behind the scenes on cameras. And I tell you what, we have got an absolute cracker for you. There are a number of drivers that can still win this championship. After 5 rounds, they're covered by next to nothing. And I tell you what, Peter, it's been a championship. It's been an interesting championship. It's had its shares of spills, drama, everything. It's all been up and down right the way through the rounds. We've had a round at Long Beach. We've had a round at the Nürburgring. We've had it all here in this championship. How have you fared so far with the season?
Well, mate, look, frankly, I'm just happy to be back in the box, right? I mean, I missed round 2 because of a work thing, and then I missed another round because of a family thing. So I'm back here with you, enjoying it. I'm really pleased to see that Mark Foster hasn't lost the lime milkshake, right? That car is still there. And in fact, I've got an offer for him later on through the race if we get time. But, it's just really cool to be here, right? We got low temperatures at Bathurst. We've got Bathurst, right, which is one of the coolest tracks to drive around, but also one where you've got to be super safe whilst you're being super fast to get a good result. The misses of the mountain could smash you at any time, and you've got multiple contenders for the championship. So pleased to be here tonight. Really, really looking forward to seeing what comes out. I think it's been a great first season for Premier, and awesome. Looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying in the background was underway. Well, the checkered flag has now flown. Drivers are completing their final qualifying laps of the season. Don't forget that there are points assigned during the qualifying sessions here this season, so we will get those updated and tallied onto our points as we go. But in the meantime, prior to qualifying's conclusion, the points as they stand currently are a little bit tighter than I think a few drivers were necessarily wanting. The drop rounds have now come into play. Matthew Skulls will lead the way in terms of the championship, but he leads by 8 points. From there, we throw back 50 points, I believe, to Adam Jepson, another 40 points back to Nick Wood, but there are a lot of points on offer here tonight. 350 points for a race win. I believe the qualifying points results are 35 for pole, 32 for second, 30, 28, 26, and from there, 1 single point back. So those points will matter for the two guys that are at the top of the table in terms of things, with only 8 points between them. If our series leaders here, Keegan, can get a jump in terms of things in qualifying, it sets themselves up for a race. And Ben Jeffrey's right there and amongst it in terms of times. He's in second.
Yeah, thanks for having me back again, guys. It's been awesome to be commentating again with you guys. But yeah, it's really, really tight at the top of the table. As you're saying, qualifying points obviously count as well. But all that can be thrown away in the first couple of corners if you get caught up in an incident. And that's something that you really have to think about at this track, because it's really, really easy to get caught up into the third corner, up towards the cutting there, and get caught up in an incident, and your race is over, and your championship is over as well.
Suave note of those top 2 in the championship as we're watching Andrew Powell's final flying lap. Jeffrey is being pushed back to 3rd, so a late lap has just come in from Nick Wood, which has vaulted him up into P2. Actually, I think it might have been Jackson Pringle that's actually gone to the top of the table at the very last moment. It's practicing a pit lane entry. I was about to say, I think he's already done his final flying lap and crossed the line. So this is just a practice pit lane entry. It's important to get those in. Ben Jeffrey and Matthew Skulls, your championship contenders, well, they're 3rd and 4th at this point in time, but they're opposite the way that they are. Look, you've mentioned it already tonight, Pete. It's tough, it's technical, it's tricky. Walls are right there within a grasp away. The instant that you get offline, the instant you make a mistake, that mountain will bite. And if that mountain bites for our top 2, the rest of the field, they come hunting. Skulls has no drop round to lean on. He missed a round early on in the season, but Ben Jeffrey's worst round was a 288-point round. So there's a lot here for him. He's got a little bit of leeway to play with.
Yeah, mate. Look, I'm looking at the qualifying results right now, and P1 to P9 are all 201s, and there's only 0.4 seconds between them. So that's just some massive times. I mean, we're talking sub 3,000 I rating guys. I mean, that's me. I'm a 2,500 I rating guy, and I'm doing a 203. So these dudes are quick, right, for their I rating, but they're close as well. So 0.8 of a second between the top 10 there, between Jackson and Nick at the end there, is just fabulous qualifying. I think we're in for a crack of a race.
Indeed we are, and well, it's now time for the warm-up. Normally, this is for the drivers to get their last pit stop of the season involved and get any loo dramas out of the way. We don't want drivers having to replace their seats after the race because they smell a little bit on the funky side, on the nose, shall we say. And this generally gives the drivers the opportunity to get that out of the way, allows them to reset as well. It's an interesting change when you go from qualifying to race mode gig, and the driver's going to settle down, and it takes a different style. The first lap here at the mountain is so crucial, and you've just come from punching out as all of the performance you can get out of these GT3 machines.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping when you go and do a qualifying lap here, and you really, like you said, you got to really calm yourself down going into the first couple of corners. You got to really be on the lookout for cars moving around or someone clipping a wall or something like that. And you got to be on the lookout to make that dive on your opponent, your championship rival, see whether you can get an early jump on them. Because sometimes it can be really hard to pass here. You got the pass down into the chase, but you got to be really, really brave through there. You don't want to get stuck behind a slower car going across the top of the mountain, or else you lose a bucket load of time as well. But I'm really looking forward to this race. This should be really good. Like Pete was saying just before, it's super, super close at the top, so we're in for a real treat tonight, I think.
And in terms of that performance as well, with the number of drivers up here, 201s are just a monstrous time around the mountain. You have a look at drivers up and down the field, there's a bunch of drivers in the 202s, from 10th place all the way through to 19th place. The second, it's actually really convenient. The top 9, just nearly into the top 10, all the single-digit qualifiers, all in the 201s. All of the two-digit qualifiers leading with a 1, all in the 202s, and from there it drifts out just a little bit. There's a couple drivers in the 20s that are outside of the 203s, so that sort of mixes things up. But that tells me we've got a field there's nothing in between us. And if there's anything, Pete, that's come to the fore over the last couple of rounds, you haven't obviously been here for those, but you can remember back to the Phillip Island round, how important, how critical tyres were. You just cannot go across the top of the mountain here with worn tyres. You've got to look after that car, got to look after the rubber. It's going to be an interesting one from that perspective.
Yeah, it's not just worn tyres. Remember at the start of the season, iRacing introduced the new GT3 tyre model, and as a result, every driver on the sim had to work out how to get these tyres up to speed. Gone are the days where you could put on worn tyres and just drive out at speed. And Bathurst is one of those tracks where your first lap on cold tyres, if you don't hit the cutting at the right speed and just a little bit slower, you can lose the front end and put the front end into the wall, or you can lose the back end and spin it around coming out of places like the cutting and up into McPhillamy before the tyres really get some warmth. And you get to push them on like the second lap. So, it's a real thing of awareness here, particularly as the drivers will, they'll start the race on cold tyres. They'll take a lap and a half to really get them warmed up and get them up to speed. The fuel tanks drop off and the tyres are hot and not necessarily as worn as a full tank run because it's only a 65% tank. But then they come into the pits, they whack another 65% fuel in, so about 70 litres, and then they get cold tyres again and got to go again, and they've got to reset. So there's some really dangerous moments. They've got to do it, from my analysis, at least twice in this race to get to the end. So it's not just a matter of strapping on your best, lowering the fuel, and going as hard as you can. There is real racecraft in this tonight.
Yeah, there's going to be real racecraft up and down the field. Well, the warm-up session has just about concluded. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to take your final break of the season, we recommend that you do it right now because you're going to strap in for the next 2 hours as we go wall-to-wall with action. This place, it just creates memories. It creates moments. It creates drama. It's the perfect place to sign, seal, and deliver that first championship. Skulls has the lead. That lead is close since qualifying, and I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, just keeping an eye on our points at this point in time, the lead is down to 6 points. And the most important thing is that 6 points, well, you'd have to go a very long way back. It's less than 1 spot. So now it comes down to who finishes ahead. If Ben Jeffrey beats Matthew Skulls, he wins the championship. If Skulls beats Ben Jeffrey, it's over. There's not much you can really do about it. But at the same time, Ben Jeffrey finishes further back down than a 288-point round. Well, Skulls has got to be within 6 points of that to win it. Jackson Pringle managed to take out our pole position here tonight with a 201.545. Nick Wood, 39 thousandths of a second outside of that one, and only 20 thousandths further back was Ben Jeffrey. 1.5 tenths further back, Matthew Skulls on the outside of row number 2. Trent Allen and Anthony Holm will make up row number 3. Owen Coleman and Daniel Magri, row number 4. Glenn Arnott, the last of our drivers inside that 201 marker before it throw it back to Adam Jepson. Pretty big drop off between those two drivers. Drew Koistra is going to be an 11th, and Nick Bottrell will round out the first page of our grid. Pete, take us away for page number 2.
Whoa, hang on, now you've caught me there. I've been looking out for others. Keegan, can you take that?
So we've got Harry Dodds coming out of 13th, followed by Justin Davies, Mark Foster, then Adrian Gretsch, Cameron Edwards, followed by Andrew Powell, Brendan O'Loughlin, Jonathan Gearley, Luke Mackay, Matthew Carrick, Alfonso Latella, and Jacob C. Hughes rounding out to P24.
Rounding out 25 through to 34, we've got Jordan Smith, Matty Gerard in 26, Dan Fritz, Nigel Seidel in 28, 29th Matt Sizzler, 30th Matt Norris, Jimmy Milton 31st, Stephen Mellors 32nd, and then we get into our race control crew at Alex Cole, Andrew Dux, myself in the safety car. So good luck to everyone.
Yeah, you in the safety car on the back row of that grid. I think that's intentional. Righto, ladies and gentlemen, down to the final corner. This is it. This is the championship round. They'll hold them. The green flag's in the air. We are underway from the mountain. The Premier Endurance Racing League brought to you by Graham Gear Direct and Virtual Motorsport Mentor. The run to hell corner. Who's going to settle it down on the inside? Immediately, Nick Wood has gone back 1 spot. Now to his inside is going to be Ben Jeffrey trying to pick up that space and put a little bit of distance between himself and Matthew Skulls. Skulls has dropped back a little bit indeed. He's actually going to go too wide with one of his teammates. No, it's Trent Allen. My apologies. Inside along there. No, it is indeed Trent Allen in a Riot Sim Racing livery. So that one's a newbie to me. A little bit unheard of, but there we go. They'll settle themselves down and in. The next car in line as well, blinking in and out a little bit. That's going to unsettle just a few drivers. My apologies. Trent Allen, I thought he was 5th. He's still making his way up. So he got tangled up in a mess at turn number 1 because he hasn't started from pit lane. So Trent Allen's got a mile and a half backwards. It was Daniel Magri. That's why I was confused. Magri's jumped up to support his teammate in a 5th place. That's a great start from those guys as they make their way up and across the top for the first time tonight. Jackson Pringle has managed to put nearly a second over the rest of the field as they make their way down over Skyline on cold tyres. Who's got the balance in the rear end? Who can keep the thing pointed in the right directions? Who can hit all the apexes? The questions, they're asked of the mountain for the first time tonight. And automatically, Ben Jeffrey starts to find that time, find that rhythm, and close that margin. He's got the championship lead by just a few points at this point in time.
Well, it's certainly advantage Ben, isn't it, right now? Only with one position on Matty Skulls. And that puts the pressure on Matty. He's got to drive safe. He's got to drive clean. He's got to keep it right up close to Ben again. But as we know, it's 2 hours at the mountain and anything can happen, right? So a little bit of understeer, a little bit of oversteer can ruin your whole race. A poor pit stops, a little bit of speeding there. Late entry, something like that. Who knows? There's a long way to go here and certainly not over, but it's advantage Ben and the pressure is now on Matty.
I was just digging through... Oh, here we go. This will actually tell us a story of exactly what happened to the drivers on lap number 1. We're keeping our eyes on Trent Allen's BMW. Gets balked up, gets checked up. There's a few elbows going on in the middle of the pack there. 3 wide on the run down to turn number 1. He'll settle it in. Does he get a little bit of a nudge? No, it's the car on the outside that gets a nudge, and then he's just an innocent bystander. I have a look at the flames shoot out the rear bumper. That's Milkshake McLaren from Mark Foster as well. You can tell he was out of the gas as they make their way up to Griffin's Bend for lap number 2. Keegan, they've settled themselves down and in here now. One thing I'd like to highlight is we actually have a new driver in the series making his debut at this point in time. It's Harry Dodds. It's a tricky place to make a debut, particularly at the end of a long season. What would be going through his mind in terms of his racing prospects here? The guy's here because he wants to have a good time, but at the same time, he's got to protect those cars around him.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on Harry going for it at the mountain here. Really difficult place to make your debut for sure. But he's going really well at the moment. Basically, I'd just be trying to keep it as clean as possible. Just try and pick up those positions as people make mistakes. And we have a big one across the top of the mountain. I'll throw over to you, Scott, because we have a lot of cars stuck at the top here, backing into each other as well. This is pretty dangerous. I think this is going to be a safety car for
Safety
sure.
car's out. Safety car's already been called. Yep. Safety car's already been called, ladies and gents. The race control's called the safety car, so hopefully they can all settle down and we'll get it out and get this race underway very shortly again.
I saw that one just about live and caught it. There was no hesitation, not even waiting for the call to come in from anyone within the race that there was an incident or an issue. They called that one without hesitation. There's a number of drivers going to be caught up in this one. A number of drivers that piled in high speed. Is that, I'm going to say that is Matt Gerard. Indeed it is, who's hit the barrier quite heavily. The Audi's gone in a sympathy spin trying to make way, and then everyone else has just arrived on the scene at a rate of knots. Trent Allen barely manages to avoid it, and that's 17 Ferrari as well. And this is where it gets chaotic, because he's trying to clear the track. He's attempting to do the right thing, but all he's done is block it.
And Scotty, that's a hell of a place, mate. If a car's sideways coming over there, you're going at full speed. You're right on the limit of the car. There's nothing you can do, and and unless somebody's on the whole radio to everybody calling out car block, then you're driving in there at race speed, like every race driver should. And there's a car sideways. So really, really difficult for all of those involved, and certainly for those that were involved in sort of the follow-up incidents there.
So normally we'd be talking to Keegan a little bit next, but I know that you've been doing the numbers here for me, Pete, in terms of strategy. This is a critical one. Safety cars at the mountain, I would say that we all just about had it down at about, 95%? Not 100%, but we had it definitely, we saw one was coming for reasonably sure. Fuel.
Yeah, certainly high. Yeah, high level of safety car. What does it do to the impact of the race? I mean, the way I've assessed it right now with the fuel calcs in the cars is like 2 stops certain, but it's right on the limit. So the 2 stops still certain for everybody, even with the safety car. There's no way they're going to get this down to a 1-stop race with the fuel tank size there is. But what the safety car does do is it opens up a race window, right? So it gives at the second half of the race, so let's say they all go long on the fuel tank, it actually opens up the window for the second stop to say it doesn't have to be as long as a pit stop, because they can go longer and short fuel, or they can come in early, hit large fuel. As we know, we're not going to wear the tyres to 100% of a fuel load in the GT3 because of the restricted fuel tank tonight. And they can come in earlier, and if there's a safety car, make the advantage up by having an earlier stop and doing an undercut. So this actually really opens up the race. It opens up the window, which I'm excited about, because the windows were quite strict to start with.
So if you're at the back end of the field here, Keegan, there's obviously nothing to gain. Obviously a number of drivers with damage there that straight up don't have a choice. I think it was Alex Court that just came through and just got collected at the end of that one. He's definitely come to pit lane to pick up some repairs. He's actually the lead car that's come to the lane at this point in time. Trent Allen's gone to the rear of the field. I'm curious about the Trent Allen decision, because he hasn't pit. He was at the back. He was a long way down. Surely when you're back that far, even if you've got no damage, you can't gain anything by staying out. Why has he not come to the pit lane, do you think?
Maybe he's got it in his mind a little bit that he's going to stick with his original strategy. Personally, I'd be pitting under any kind of safety car, just to try and get that little bit of advantage, like what Pete was talking about. If you got nothing to lose, and you could end up with a little bit of free space as well. Try and get a bit of gain there by using your fresh tires with a bit of free track as well. Towards the mid pack, if you're still sitting around in there, you're going to end up with just traffic everywhere. But if you pitted, you have a little bit of more space to yourself then.
Well, an interesting call from a number of drivers back there, and watch them here as well as they're desperately trying to get some heat into that Pirelli compound. Well, they're trying to maintain heat in that Pirelli compound. Just barely enough of a heat cycle. The tyres would have been just about coming up to temperature when that safety car was called. Now they'll chill out. Once again, the pressures will go down. The grip level will fall away. I haven't heard any updates on whether or not the safety car will be into the pits this lap, which I'm assuming they would be accelerating away from the field by this point. So I have a feeling we're going to be doing one more lap under the safety car. We're now going to be 4 laps in, but most importantly, we're at 8 minutes into this race server now. So 8 minutes, 30 seconds. Does that change any of the numbers, Pete? What was the amount of fuel that we were looking for here?
So the amount of fuel to start off with was about 70 litres, right? So it's 65% tank on a 105 to 115, depending on what car you picked, right? The GT3s are obviously different than fuel tanks. So it's let's say 70 litres for as an average for most of them. They're burning about 3.4 to 3.6 litres per lap. Alien fuel speed, and so essentially what it does is it sort of makes it about a 20 lap stint on what is essentially a 60 lap race. So let's look at the numbers broadly. We got a 120 minute race, so 2 hours. We get roughly 2 minutes per lap at speed, so a bit slow at the moment because they really only have done the start lap. So roughly 2 minutes per lap. So essentially it's going to be 60. I think after the safety car it's probably 58, 59 laps with what is essentially 19 to 20 laps of fuel. So, and that's where I say now what they've done with a slow period here is they've just, for every extra minute of a lap, they've actually given them an extra minute of fuel window. So, this extra safety car lap here, although unexpected, others might have put it out straight away. That looks like somebody we think should be at the front, mate.
Well, I was about to say, we all just commented and said, hey, we've noticed somebody that hasn't come to the pit lane. There's a couple of other cars that did actually come in to top off. Sazole was one of them. I believe Jimmy Middleton was the other one. But Trent Allen, that's an odd one. If you're not pitting on the first lap of that safety car, what's the point in pitting there? I think he's just gone to the rear of the train here. So he's lost a lot of time. Unless there was a significant amount of damage that he actually just picked up in there recently.
Unless there was a test lap, mate. Unless it was I'm gonna catch up. I'm gonna see how it goes and see how it drives. And look, when you got this extra safety car lap where nearly most of the field's caught up, you almost can sit in and take 1 minute of repairs and then fill up and come around, at the expense of track position, of course. But it's Bathurst, mate. Track position is not the be-all and end-all at the start of a long race. So, even though it's 2 hours compared to like 6 and 12 that we think of as our classic endurance races, 2 hours in a simulator race is still a long way. So, the real aim is he's just going to not have cars spin in front of him. And then essentially what he's done is opened up his window. And that's really what I'm talking about, what can you do by pitting late, is what you're doing is you're opening up your options at the end of the race as the field spread out.
So what I heard a little bit of there was the Peter Baxter curse affecting your race strategy. Is that true? Care to comment on that?
Not in this race because he's not driving. That's all I'll say, Scotty.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm not driving, and I wouldn't want to put that food into anybody else's cockpit.
Keegan, have you got a curse at all? You haven't been affected by a racing curse at any stage?
I've been affected by a Le Mans curse. I have never finished a single race at Le Mans yet.
Okay, there you
I've
go.
done so many endurance races. I think I've finished 1 or 2 sprint races. Never finished an endurance race. Very hard track.
Pete Baxter has never finished any race. I don't know what you're on about.
Oh. Pete, do you care to comment?
All right, safety car is now pulling away. We will be in the leader's hands, which is still going to be Jackson Pringle. Everyone, tyre temperatures and pressures have now come down. There's just about nothing else that they can do. It's now going to be back to restart procedure, which means we're going to be underway here again in just a few moments. So, up and down the field. Just about got my qualifying points updated here, lads. So,
all right, so while you do that, mate, I'm looking for drivers to just settle in, just really get their rhythm going for this whole stint, drive it for the whole tank. So just drive this as far as they can. If they can make spots, they make spots. But essentially, for the first stint, you drive as cleanly as you can and you get ahead through attrition. And then what you do is you get yourself in a position to race this at the end of the race. That's the strategy I'm looking for most of the drivers. So we'll see how they go, eh?
All right, settling ourselves down. We're going to be under restart here in just a few moments. Jackson Pringle has control of the field. The apex, the last corner. We've seen that one just about every single time this season. He's got control of the field. Ben Jeffrey has control of the championship and will head into Hell Corner under pace for the first time in a number of laps. 13 minutes now complete, just about coming up on 14 minutes. And a lot of single file action just about up and down the field. No one looking to get a little bit aggressive at this point in time, so they've settled themselves all down and in, and no one even looking to pounce on this opening lap. Is there anyone that you're noticing maybe fuel saving? Here we go. Jepson's got a Glenn Arnott down the inside of him, looking to grab that one away, and Arnott will come away with the position. So Jepson slides down to 9th from that one. Keegan, anyone you got your eye on this opening couple of laps?
I've really got my eye on Jeffrey at the moment. I'm interested to see whether he goes for a move on Pringle, because he made a really early move early on in the race and basically just put a car between him and Scholes so that he had a bit of a buffer there. Other one I'm looking at, Harry Dodds, he's really on the charge at the moment. And then another one of our championship contenders is Jeffson. We just saw him slip back just then. He's a little bit off the pace, but he was a little bit off the pace on the restarts during Nürburgring as well.
Oh, here we go!
As well.
Speaking of Jepson's just tagged the rear end of Glenn Arnott, and he's backwards at the dipper. There's a car backwards at the dipper. The field is going to file their way down in here. Single file, there's nothing they can do. There's a Porsche parked on that inside, but have a look at the respect. Have a look at the respect that's been shown.
Roddy, that is some of the best driving I have seen. I mean, despite the fact there's an instant there in the dipper, every other time I'm at Bathurst, cars like that, and it's just a pile on for 10 cars right into the side of it. So that is just a massive congratulations to everybody in the field there that has gone around those cars. That is some superb driving. And if they've all got spotters, mate, they need a pat on the back because they are doing a fabulous job there.
Yeah, and this was contact between Glenn Arnott and Adam Jepson. Got a little bit out of line, a little bit out of rhythm, coming down and over the S's, and Jepson just tags the rear bumper. And unfortunately, that Porsche chose to go left. Should have chose right.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he sat there in the corner and everybody got around him, right? So we didn't get any T-bones. We didn't get any massive damage out of it. So, no, awesome. And look, race control will look at that and see whether there's something to answer there. I don't think it's fair on us to even comment. But you know, look, the quality of the drivers to get around to that. Yeah, if I was driving, mate, I'd have been right in the middle of it. So.
Yeah, so interesting to note at this point in time, I think our esteemed friend and compatriot Keegan Sutton-Baker has just done his first ever commentator's curse. You literally, the words Adam Jepson, keeping an eye on him, he's in championship contention, and around she goes, was the first thoughts that went through my mind. A few drivers cutting their way back through the field. That was the battle between Nigel Seidel and I believe Luke Mackay on the run to Griffins at this point in time. What this has done is separated the field quite massively. Keegan, Bathurst, settling yourself in. A few of these drivers have done it now. How do you start to lift this pace if you need to? Or is it going the opposite direction? Are you fuel saving?
honestly, at this point, I'm going to be fuel saving a little bit because everyone else is going to be going absolutely hell for leather across the top, and you're going to fuel save a little bit off the across the top, and maybe try and sit in the draft of someone going down Conrod as well, and then up Mountain Straight as well. You save a lot of fuel, and you gain a fair bit of time as well, just sitting in the draft of someone else. So a big train like what we're seeing at the moment for like P10 to P16 or so, that's where I'd want to be. I'd be wanting to sit in behind there, just fuel save, just conserve. Don't be pushing on your limits at the moment. Be pushing at like 70% or so, and just conserve your fuel and wait to see what happens. There's going to be another incident, basically. We just know it's going to happen. We saw it already with Jefferson getting tagged. So you just wait it out and see what happens, basically.
We've got a unique opportunity, I think, here because we've all been in the race controller's booth. There's Provenzali, I believe, sent it down the inside, and he'll come away with that one. So Ricky Provenzali goes ahead and sneaks one away from Matthew Gerard. Both of those drivers, of course, caught up in that safety car incident on lap number 3. And now to the inside is Trent Allen trying to get his way through and pick up a couple spots. So Allen now starting to really push on. Stefan Mellers has got a lap down as well. There's an update for anyone watching along at home. And now here comes Adam Jepson to the inside of Cameron Edwards. Edwards just says, yep, look, not going to fight that one early on. And that's a little bit about this racecraft at work.
Do you think Matty Gerard's got a little bit of damage there, mate? He seemed to be a bit slow through a few of those corners.
I think he's just offline, just out of rhythm. I don't think there was anything from that. Next question I was going to ask you, what do you think of the call not to throw the safety car, Pete? Because we've got a panel here of 3 guys who've all done a considerable amount of race control. We all know what it's like. Sometimes we get that itchy trigger finger on the safety car. I love it. There was no reason to call it. Everyone was single file. The caution was called for. Pete, your thoughts?
No, well, the car didn't need a tow, so you didn't need to put another set of unsafe people on the track in the simulated environment. You have to remember, the safety car is really about simulating a car getting back to the pits where they can't get back to the pits. And in that case, despite the car was sideways, every other car went around it, the car was still running, he was able to get going and get started again. That's the right call, not to keep the safety car. Because essentially, over to you, Scotty.
Daniel Fritz, has gone wide in there, and that's triggered an immediate jump to the pits there from Daniel Fritz, unfortunately. Got out of order, out of line, and this is the incident we were looking at a few moments ago from the 196 Porsche. I'm expecting this to be a lazy, slow Porsche spin, and indeed that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, just a lazy, slow Porsche. And I think Dan had the same thing, just a lazy, slow into Forest Elbow, but he's made the mistake of trying to get going again because he's on his own there and he's just lost the back end, a little bit late on braking, touched it, and then just a little bit over-ambitious to get going and not thinking about the others. And, I think, some of us here in the guilty box are guilty of the same thing.
The guilty box. The guilty box. I love it. We're the guilty box up here, ladies and gents. Have you been sent away? Are you in the naughty corner up here with the guilty box?
You don't want to know what I did on Monday night. You don't want to know what I did on Monday night.
Peter Baxter, you've been sent to the naughty corner. You're up here to commentate the guilty box.
Absolutely shocking. Yeah, Dan, I'm in there with you, mate. I feel you hurt. And, run away, put your head down, get your car fixed, and drive nicely.
Keegan, there's moments like this during the commentary broadcast. At the moment, it's quite single file. It's really pedestrian, which I don't think a lot of us are expecting. Have you been listening on board to a number of those cars, listening for engine notes? I'm really curious to know who's fuel saving, because that top 4 have condensed again, and I think they've become a top 6, if anything. And Harry Dodds is actually the car that's bought his way onto the back of that. That Mercedes has just shot through the back of shot there. So who do you think is saving at this point in time?
I would say probably Scholes. He has a really good strategy early on in the stints. We saw him fade a little bit during his first few laps at Nürburgring, and he let Jeffrey get away a little bit. But then Jeffrey, his tyres faded, and Scholes was onto him again. But I think he's doing a similar kind of strategy. He can still see Jeffrey just up the road here. But I would just like to mention Dodds on debut. He's up 7 positions now. Really, really amazing job. There has been a couple incidents, but he's avoided them all, and he's doing really well. He's just, as you were mentioning, he was just onto the back of this battle pack now. It'll be interesting to see whether he tries to cut his way through or whether he just sits back and sees what happens.
Look, all of his teammates will be listening along as well. So Harry Dodds' teammates from the Frog Leap Juice crew. I think this is a really good opportunity to give him a nickname that he's not going to enjoy and he'll never hear the end of. Pete, what do you think of Dodge and Dodds?
Nah, look, no. To be fair to Harry, you know, I've seen Harry finish far more races than I do. So, look, good on him. He's in here with the right crew, and it's good to see him in here actually because the sub 3,000 I rating category, it's a challenging category because aliens break out of it, humans don't, and average people can't get in it. So it's a really good race category. It's really good to see Harry here, and I know that Harry has raced a lot in a lot of supercars. Good to see him in a GT3, and his races don't always go perfectly. So I'm looking forward to see how he comes out with it. I'll tell you what, the other driver that I've got my eye on is Braden O'Loughlin. So Braden's down at 25th at the moment, but he missed the start. So we didn't get a really clear cut on how fast he is. He's missed the start, so he's had to start at the back of the grid, and I really want to see, he's just sitting in behind Ricky Provenzali at the moment. I want to see whether he can sort of make his way up into the top 20, top 10 as the race goes on.
Nolan, stop that. I can see you enjoying your camera work in the background. Those were absolutely ridiculously beautiful, and you had no right throwing cameras in there that were that good looking, mate. Can I ask you to do that more often? If you can, that'd be great. So, ladies and gents, the race is now settled down after that opening stanza. Your top six covered by less than 2 seconds. Second and a half back to Anthony Holmes, just a little bit of drifting on his own. Not a bad thing at this stage of the race either, Keegan. Around the mountain, when you're just sitting off where Holm is, just a little bit of drift, you can see the cars ahead. They're not really pulling away. You're not really getting caught by the cars behind. This is actually a great spot to be in. You can find that rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst thing ever when you're going across the top of the mountain at Bathurst is when you're right on the rear bumper of somebody else. You can't sight your lines properly, and people take really different lines across the top sometimes. Sometimes you're a lot wider than someone else, and you're a lot faster than someone else across a certain part, and you end up running right into the back of them. That's why it makes me a little bit nervous that the top six is all so close together, and this has got our two big championship contenders in it as well. So I would love to be in Holmes' position at the moment. Like I was talking about earlier with the fuel saving, you can get a little bit of a draft from the cars ahead. He's not too far back, probably about 2 seconds back at the moment. But when you're within about a second and a half kind of window, definitely get a little bit of a draft and you get a bit of fuel saving, and you can lift off a little bit across the top as well. So yeah, Dodds is definitely going very aggressive though. I was just looking at his onboard before. He is right at the red line. I was looking through a couple of the other guys as well up in that top pack. They are quite on the limit at the moment. I thought they were going to be fuel saving, but not many of them are. They're really quite going for it. They're just very much line astern, and they're not making any kind of ridiculous kind of stupid moves at the moment. As we see with the camera shots at the moment, they're right up against those outside walls as well.
Yeah, and interesting to note as well, Peter Baxter, I know that you'd be aware of a couple of instances within Australian sim racing culture. There was a Bathurst 12, I think it was either the 2021 or the 2022 edition, where our real-life racing... Oh, here we go, never mind. He looks to the inside from Skulls. He wants to press on, so he's going to push on. And the driver's name's just gone off the top of my head. I know he drives for Erebus at the moment. It was Brody Kostecki was the driver that I was thinking of. Kostecki held up a pack of about 20 cars. He was fuel saving so aggressively across the top and then driving the car as hard and as quick as he possibly can. So it can be done around the mountain. You can fuel save aggressively and lead. Where would you be leading in this instance? If you were, say, let's put you in the shoes of Daniel Magri, someone who's not in championship contention, do you just throw a curveball at these guys?
Not yet. I'd throw the curveball on the last stint. I think it's like the Bathurst 1000, right? It's buy your way to the race right now. We're not really in the race yet. Just got to be there in the top 10. You got to feel each other out. You got to let the track develop. You got to let the car develop and understand the tyre wear with the conditions that are in. Understand your fuel load. And this top 10 is nice and close, so you can sit tucked in. You don't have to be right on your braking limits. You can lift a little bit earlier so you're not hitting the car behind you. You can fuel save in the draft. You can make a little bit. And then you work out, all right, over the first hour, you can work out where can I get these guys. Now, if I'm Matty Scholes, Matty's sitting not right up close to P3. Matty's sitting just a little bit off. Is he on the limits? I'm not sure he's right on the limits, but he's still pushing it to keep up. So, but what he does have, he's got a really good opportunity, particularly as he comes down Conrod and up Mountain Straight, is to just sit in the draft, just lift just a little bit, save that little bit of fuel, and maybe what he can do is actually give himself a little bit of window to take that snap that he needs to get the position he needs. He doesn't need to win, he just needs to beat Ben.
I think we're looking at an instant up and across the top. Indeed, we are. So an overtake heading into the Essex. That was actually teammates working together there to let that one happen. I can tell you, Skulls just showed the nose coming down down Conrad yet again into the chase. So he is looking to get the elbows out. He's looking to get aggressive. And Nick Wood is the only one of a BMW in amongst this Mercedes sandwich. Immediately behind Daniel Magri, next BMW, but it's BMWs and Mercedes at the top yet again. Anthony Holm, another BMW. Nick Bottrell, BMW. Mercedes in P9 for Adrian Gretsch as well. And then Ruth Wistra, the first McLaren, sitting in P10. And that just about rounds off the major manufacturer battles. Whoa, here we go. I think that pit lane strategy is just open because we saw Adam Jepson has a lot of damage to that front left-hand corner.
He's been given a drive-through.
So that was a drive-through, mate.
Penalty.
Yep. So Adam got a drive-through for something previously in the race. So he's just served that. He's just come out.
That'll be the incident with Nick Wood, was it? No, it wasn't Nick Wood. It was Glenn Arnott coming down into the dipper.
That's really taken him out of contention for sure. He was in P11 and he's dropped way back down now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Keegan, mate. That's a hell of a curse to put on a driver for a night. But
that
fairly big
out of nowhere. Brendan O'Loughlin and Matt Gerard making contact. Rick Wistra's just had a huge moment coming down through the S's and somehow come out the other side. So that would be a brown stain in the underwear kind of moment. This will tell the story. He was all kinds of sideways as he crests the hill here, which we'll see in just a few moments. Watch this as he kicks it to the right. Yep, just missed.
Oh, way too late. Way too late, yeah.
And he come away with that one and out the other side.
Yeah, he got away with it. And I've got to tell you that Matty Scholes just come out of Forest Elbow and just had a little bit of a scrub against the concrete wall too. So, lost a couple of tenths of a second, but he's caught it back up on he's lost the position. So,
yes.
So that's hurt him. I wonder if that's hurt the car and slowed him down.
Well, he's allowed Daniel Magri through as well, which is his teammate. Does this mean that Magri's now gets released to go and chase? So what happens to Dodds here? And we've got another car in a precarious position. It's the 93 entry, running deep within the field. Unfortunately, it was Matt Cesole way down the field, but there's a lot of a gap right there at that point in time. Indeed, the last car's just come off the Forest Elbow, which you would have saw. The leaders have just gone through Griffin's Bend, so the whole top of the mountain was clear for him to get that one straightened out.
Yeah, you're right. Has Matty let his teammate through to do the damage, and just settle in, or did that touch on the concrete wall genuinely slow him down enough? And that's a genuine position loss. Is there team orders?
Whoa, there we go. That's going to cause chaos. And Alex Court got the position and dived it through. John O'Kiley gets tagged. I think that was by Andrew Dutch in the BMW that went on his way through. Wasn't expecting Kiley to check up. This will tell the story. So he's a little bit offline here. And just catches it. And the car behind just isn't aware of the pace differential. That's heavy contact for John O'Kiley.
Really unfortunate incident there as well.
I'd like to see that from the car behind.
That's what I'm thinking. Because it was Alex Court to the inside who was making the moves. I think it was Andrew Dutch that made the compact with his rear bumper, so we might get another shot of that one in the meantime. Yep, here we go, perfectly on cue. This will tell the story. Like I said, Court to the inside, tags the curb, grabs the brakes, and nowhere to go for the BMW in pursuit.
At least he got through there in one piece a little bit. He made a little bit of contact through there, but at least he didn't slam into the wall and cause a whole traffic jam at least.
Oh, and Coleman on the move. Oh, Coleman getting the elbows out with Andrew Powell. So that one's going to be decided. And another position on the same lap, 2 for 1 for Alex Court, who cut his way into 17th place past Matthew Carrick. I'm really interested to think what you guys think about the tyre wear here as well, because those top 6 have all been in such a big draft train. The dirty air is going to be immense. There is no way that they've got a lot of front downforce. I'm feeling like Skulls might be slowing just due to fading front tyres.
With
No,
that,
I'm not, mate. No, I'm not, because, you think about it, we've got the same tyres that we run in the full 12 hours, and when we run the full 12 hours, we run 100% fuel tank. So, and a lot of cases you can double stint these tyres. So I don't think the tyre wear is going to be that big that it's actually going to impact the race. I think if anything, it's going to be damage, and maybe by Matty touching the concrete wall, he might have put a little bit of aero damage on the right-hand side of his car as he's coming to Forest Elbow, and that might be the difference. But to be honest, the last sort of 3 laps, I've just been watching from his cockpit whilst viewing my other information sources, and he's still just sitting there at the same pace he has for the first part of the race. So we're coming up sort of 7 or 8 minutes away from what might be the first real pit stop. So after the safety car, that might be about still another 3 or 4. So we're going to come up to a round of pit stops in about the next sort of 7 to 10 minutes. We'll see how that shakes out.
Critical to note, you're the other driver that you mentioned, Keegan. I just want you to say his name again, so it's none of us that gave him the curse, by the way. Who's the driver that's sitting in 6th, and what's going on with there? Right, indeed, never mind, because here comes Daniel Magri, gets to the inside now of Nick Wood, and he's going to pick off Nick Wood, and that all of a sudden puts a Riot Sim racing car on the bumper now of Ben Jeffrey. How does Jeffrey respond? And now it's going to be Skulls that goes to the outside of Nick Wood as well. So the battle within the top 6 starting to heat up as Harry Dodds falls off the back end of this back and starts to come back to the clutches of Anthony Holt. So Dodds is falling back a little bit, Keegan. You better say how well he's doing, just so we can get that one in there. Then his next accident, completely and utterly not his fault.
I don't know whether I want to say anything now.
I'm going to defend Keegan, right? So Keegan met at Adam Jetson. He's down in P20 now. Yeah, he's had a bit of a crash and shocker. But I said I want to have a look and see how Brady O'Loughlin's going. And within 2 laps, mate, the guy's disconnected from the race. So, Keegan, you're still beating me. So you're good. And I think Harry should be safe if you mention his name.
Keegan, welcome to the guilty box. You have these wonderful powers of the commentator's curse. Use them wisely. Or, you know what? Don't use them wisely whatsoever. Speaking of somebody doing very, very well, Alex Court, and that man is going to hate me if I say that any longer, because that will result in some tears if I keep talking about how well he's doing. But he is cutting his way through the field up to 16th after starting from pit lane. And we'll leave that with Keegan. Keegan, you want to talk about Alex a little bit?
I'll talk about him a little bit. There was a little bit of an incident, a bit of a tangle at the pit lane, and on the first lap, and he managed to avoid that one. As you're saying, from 33rd up to 17th at the moment, he's in behind Jacob C. Hughes, who's also gained a fair few positions. He's gone from 24th up to 16th. He's in that flame-throwing McLaren with the beautiful livery on the side. I think that's Peter's favourite as well.
That is my favourite, Mark Foster and the Lime Milkshake McLaren. And I've got to tell you, if Fozzie brings his family up to Bundaberg, I'm taking him out for hamburgers and lime milkshakes, mate. My shout. So doesn't need to finish just for running that livery and running that colour all season, mate. Lime milkshakes and thick shakes are on me if you come up to Bundaberg. I'll even cover the burgers with you.
Well, I'm out to get my cars rewrapped in that lime milkshake green. If that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
How good is this drive from Matt? Oh, no. Kylie's had another issue. Way off the field. That's an interesting place to be out. Yeah, okay. Swaps ends there. Did he keep it off the barrier? You bet he did. That's a good catching there from John O'Kiley to keep himself running. I'm enjoying this drive from Daniel Magri. This is the best I've seen him drive, actually. I'm really enjoying this one. Alfonso Latella is another car we'll cut to. He's starting to cut his way through the field past Cameron Edwards. Edwards starting to slide backwards a little bit, but
Just
He's
behind him,
settling
Alex
himself
caught
in.
another position.
Okay, alright, it's the court show. Because he's caught and passed you.
Ooh.
We're in the guilty box.
I expected at least one, but that was a pretty good one at least.
Oh, we got plenty to follow. We've only just started, Keeks. What are you up to? Right, hey guys, we've got to be coming up to pit stops the next 5. Probably 2 more laps, I expect, and then we might start seeing some real race pit stops come into the fore. And again, we're judging this a little bit. We don't know how much people have saved from the safety cars, so could be 2 to 3 laps here, and we're going to start seeing people come in, getting their fuel top up. The earlier it is, the worse it is, as far as I'm concerned. They want to drive this as late as possible because it opens up that second stop window.
Update from Forest Elbow Cam. The driver on screen has made a little bit of a bingle with it. He's given it a kiss, and now he's under complete and utter assault from Matthew Skulls. So Skulls is starting to put the pressure on, and falling by the wayside is Nick Wood. He's going to lose the draft here in a couple minutes. He might want to just work with Skulls to keep him attached to that front pack. His tyres are starting to fall off. His pace, he's starting to relax a little bit, and it's fallen off just enough. So we'll see if he can actually manage to keep with the cars ahead. Is that a slow car? That is a very slow car. There's the 17 machine of Jimmy Middleton, and that might just be his night over. That's the second incident he's been involved in. And
what's happened to Jimmy here? Is it just
up and across Skyline, down into the S's?
Oh, he's just gone too. Oh no, that's a big bingle. Yeah. I think he's just gone way too late on the brakes, coming off Skyline, just lost the back end, and then once you lose the back end, you're a passenger all the way into the concrete wall.
Pit window's open, so might see him in the very, very near future. How good is this from Daniel Magri, though? Starting to really attach himself to the cars ahead. And there's a few people within the sim, Keegan, that indeed are Bathurst specialists. What a time to set the fastest lap at the back end of this first in the draft, putting pressure all over Ben Jeffrey. And Nick Wood is going to get a hurry up from Matt Skulls because he can see these guys just disappearing down the road. And indeed, Daniel Magri is going to be giving Ben Jeffrey a hurry up. I think he wants the race lead. He's right there, right under that rear wing, having to go defensive down into the elbow is Ben Jeffrey because he can see that Daniel Magri is coming. That's going to give Magri a phenomenal exit now. It's the big wind-up, the run down Conrod Straight. 2 cars worth of draft here for Daniel Magri. Is he going to be able to set this one up, get the move done, and have a look at how close now Matthew Skulls is to the rear bumper of Nick Wood? That looks like that one's a move that signed, sealed, and delivered. Looking for the way by. Wood's going to cover the inside, side by side, as they crest the hill, and Wood sees the position. He gives that one up. He recognizes he's fought it for too long. He doesn't have anything left to fight. Matthew Skulls, and now there's another one that's about to come under assault. Coleman's been quick the last few laps. Coleman, who was quick at Phillip Island, it seems the Aussie circuits are his real turning point in the season, and now he's starting to harass the McLaren's rear bumper. Don't get too close to that one. She'll breathe fire. Well, turns out lap number 18 is the lap where all the excitement starts to happen here, lads. We're going to hit that pit lane window. Car round! And I believe that's Jacob Hughes.
That is Jacob Hughes at the chase. He's just come out there a little bit too hot, lost the rear end of the Lambo that he's driving there. He's ended up. I think another car's been impacted as a result of that, so we have to see the replay there. But Scotty, I do have a question for you. Like, you've asked me all of these analyst questions about what do you do from a crew chief perspective, mate. The question I got from you: what do you do from a driver's perspective if you're Ben Jeffrey? Are you racing for the win, or are you racing Matty Skulls?
You're racing Matty Skulls. You don't care. The Bathurst, it's all about glory. But I don't know about you, Keegan, but have you seen the trophies? Which would you rather? A Bathurst victory that potentially could go by the wayside, or do you want that pretty piece of hardware sitting in your home?
Oh, it's a tough one. I'd say if it was a 1,000 or a 12-hour, I'd be going for the win. But championship-wise, you're really just thinking about the championship if you're Ben Jeffries at the moment. He's put a car, he's just got one car in between him and Skulls at the moment, and that's probably where he's wanting to keep it. He doesn't want Skulls right in behind him. He's probably going to try and defend from Magri.
You saw that
Skulls
as well?
in the background, yeah, Skulls in the background clipping the wall again. He likes that wall on the outside there, I think.
Skulls likes kissing things. Unfortunately, it should be less barriers is the things that he should be kissing. Daniel Magri still starting to tighten up, and he's forced Jeffrey to again cover his line. Jeffrey feels vulnerable. Jackson Pringle's led every lap of this race. He's looking pretty. Who's going to dive to pit lane? Who's going to go for the undercut? Look, if you're Magri, surely you have a crack at the undercut here.
Well, mate, they're the first top 3 cars. Jackson Pringle, Ben Jeffrey and Dan Magri have all got their best times now in the 201s. So Dan Magri at the fastest lap of the race, 201.5. Last lap for all of them was low 202s. So we know they're all now at low fuel levels. I expected one of those cars to come in this lap, but I think they've probably all got, they've got this one. They wouldn't be driving it otherwise, but has anybody got another one? And this is that window I'm talking about from that safety car.
I've missed commentating Alex Court, Keegan Baker, and I've got another one for you. He set up a smash, he smashed that one home, and the ball's back in your court. Was that move at the chase on Cam Edwards? That was clean.
That was a very clean transition as well, but yeah, Alex Court moving very well up the field at the moment. He's absolutely on the charge. He has that car really, really hooked up. He's going to be coming up behind Alfonso Latella pretty soon, who's one of our other big movies from 23rd up to 12th.
Ben Jeffrey struggling across the top, falling a fair way back now off Jackson Pringle. Sorry to cut you off there, Keegan, but this is getting important. Jeffrey is the cork in the bottle. The cork is a Riot Sim Racing BMW, and that big, ugly front grille is staring at that Mercedes rear engine and saying, man, that thing growls, but you better stop looking at me in the rearview mirror. I want to look at you in mine.
Alrighty, a little bit of news. Jake Hughes has been black flagged from P25. I'm trying to work out whether it's from the incident. It might have just been a rejoin issue from when he had the spin. Coming into the chase. So Jake Hughes is going to serve his black flag, and then he'll come out and get on racing.
Sure, that
who's coming to pit lane? Jackson Pringle, Daniel Magri. Both of those guys are in. Skulls comes in as well. The only driver to go one more lap is Ben Jeffrey. This could decide the race. This could have championship implications. The drivers with a really open pit lane entry were Pringle, Magri was a little bit close to Pringle. His pit lane entry was a little bit compromised. Look how close he is to that rear bumper. But Skulls had a fair margin to get that thing pulled up, down and into its position. And have a look at these guys fighting each other in the pit lane, trying to get the car in. Ruquistra in the barriers at the final turn. And Questra just said he's had a hardware failure. I think it might be monitor related, or at least visibility related. He said something just broke.
Whoa, really weird one there.
Oh,
maybe lack of brakes?
I think he said steering wheel. Well, it might have been steering wheel then.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's one way to go from pits to the racetrack really quick, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to look at the advantage. The shame of it is he didn't get fuel on the way over the fence, but that's a sad thing for Roo there. But we don't really like to see that in our sim racing, and hopefully he can get his car back on track.
Well, Coleman's going to squabble for position on the pit lane exit with Adrian Gretsch, and indeed they're now going to go 2 wide up Mount Straight. I think that's Gretsch actually yielding that position. Didn't want to fight him too much for it. Has now given that one up to Coleman. Coleman had a lot of pace late on in that one. So drivers that went that extra lap, Ben Jeffrey, Nick Wood, managed to save that little bit of fuel, and that is Ricky Provenzali making room for a couple of drivers, or Ricky Provenzali making a little bit of room for the barrier. And have a look at this one. This is important. Skulls managed to get out just barely in front of Gerard. However, Harry Dodds did not, and Gerard's on warm tyres, low fuel, and he's looking to get aggressive. So you've got to be aware of the pace differential. That is so critical to everyone's races right here. Trent Allen's managed to pick his way up into 5th. Jeffrey's in the lane. Nick Wood will follow him in. So the entirety of our top 6 have now pitted. Holmes still making his way down towards the pit lane at this point in time. And this is so important. Where does Skulls pop out? Where does Magri pop? Daniel Magri has managed to jump Jackson Pringle in the lane.
That's an incredible jump, because have a look at the likes of Alex Court. They pitted really early from early incidents, so Alex is essentially out of sequence here. But if we look at those leaders there, Daniel Magri's just jumped Jackson Pringle, but Ben Jeffrey's still out in front. And Matty Scholes hasn't been able to. In fact, what Ben's done is he's put 2 more cars in between him and Matty Scholes for the championship. So that's a really good outcome. Now, what's happened there to Ricky?
Something's happened. So he's got damage of some description, and he's struggling in terms of speed. Could have a gear shifter issue, maybe stuck in 4th gear. We'll be seeing him hard on that pit lane limiter. And here comes Ben Jeffrey. Ben Jeffrey has gone out and jumped a lot of them. But the real question is he on cold rubber? If so, Daniel Magri is going to be attached to his rear wing. We're keeping half an eye on Ricky Provenzali, who's just struggling on the way up here. But it's so critical. We've got to get back to that battle for the race lead, because Jeffrey has got nothing in between him and Daniel Magri at this point in time. Nick Woods has managed to jump past Jackson Pringle as well. So Pringle and Scholes have both had slow stops. They might have taken tyres. That might be the difference here.
Yeah, no, because you can double stint these tyres on 65% tanks too. Now, the thing is, if you don't take tyres in the first stop, you're going to have to take tyres in the second stop. So this is a bit of tit for tat game, right? So, when do you take it? When are you better off losing time, with worn tyres if you're going to lose time? When do you want fresh tyres? Do you want fresh tyres from now to the end? Or do you want fresh tyres for the last 40 minutes of the race, right? Personally, I'd err on the side of taking the green tyres in the second stop, and I think that's the more advantageous.
That's a huge incident there for Jacob Hughes, backing it into the barriers, coming down to the Forest Elbow. And a couple drivers started to come to the attention there. Cruz Anthony Holm, the last driver, he managed to get 2 extra laps up from the start of the pit window, nearly to 50 minutes into this race. That could be a critical timestamp. He's just about right on there. And here comes Magri. Magri is feeling that rear mirror of Ben Jeffrey. He's going to pull back to the right-hand side. He was so good on tyres in the first run through. Jeffrey's had to go deep. This has set up a run that's just about overlap. He's had to lift it out. Daniel Magri is on for all money here. He knows his teammates in the championship hunt, but he doesn't care about that. Daniel Magri wants a race win. He wants it at the mountain, and he wants it in a BMW. My word, this thing is fired up. And have a look at Nick Wood in the meantime, just buying his way into this argument.
I tell you what, I like seeing Daniel Magri up there. The sportsman in me saying, Daniel, go for the win. None of this team, no team rubbish. So I don't want him to get in front and slow down. Just, if you're out there, go for the win, right? Otherwise, it'll be annoying and upsetting from my perspective. So, you're up there, you race hard, you go for it.
Well, I know him. I know he will. I know that's not what they're like, right? Right, sim racing, they will just go for it. They will race you hard, but they will race you clean. They will race you fair. There's no team games that are going to be played here whatsoever. Have a look at Nick Wood, struggling at the back end of that first stint, was starting to lose time. Lost spots to Matthew Scholes, lost spots to a number of drivers. Scholes is now 4 seconds back from our race lead. He's only 2 seconds back off of Jackson Pringle. I think Pringle and Scholes are the 2 drivers who took tyres, so they're now starting to bring their tyres up to temperature. Keegan, it's difficult. We saw it in the opening stanza of this race in that first 5 laps, how tricky it was for drivers on cold tyres. Ben Jeffrey just had a huge moment bouncing over the curbs, coming down to the dipper. That's allowed Magri to really close up. He's right there. This could be for the race lead here. Again, has to cover to the inside. Magri's going to get this thing turned. He's going to point it and shoot it. I think he might have caught the inside barrier. He is pushing for all money. I think he's in trouble. I think Magri's made a huge error right there.
He definitely
can't
clipped the
see
wall
damage.
on the inside, I think.
You think he did?
I think he clipped the wall on the inside on the exit there. He lost a whole load of time going out of that corner then.
Oh yeah, he got it. He got it. He got it in a big way. It's caught it square on the wheel, so it's not on the guard. The problem now for Daniel Magri is that steering wheel straight? That's the key feature, and it looks okay. It looks just barely okay. And that's the rear view mirror. What it looks like from Jackson Pringle at that point in time. The Gaming Gear Direct rear wing. How's that for product placement there, Peter Baxter?
Well, I'll just have a look at the crash. No, I think he'd be right. I think his front wheels would have got away from him. He might have got a little bit of side aero damage. And unfortunately, Game of Gear Direct don't do sim aeros, but they do steering wheel. So, yeah.
You know what else they do, Pete? I was actually... The 2 things I was looking at the other day when I was looking at the Game of Gear Direct website, was contemplating picking myself up and using the pedals, new wheel, new bits and pieces. The first thing that came to mind was I went, oh, golf sim. Pete will love that.
Oh, mate, no, I hate playing golf. I play it every week, and I come home frustrated. I go, why do I play something that's so frustrating? But yeah, everybody I play with, it's such cool. And it's being nice and outdoors in this beautiful Queensland winter weather that Victorians and the rest of Australia don't get. So
Right.
So why would you have a golf simulator when you can go outside and do what you do? The frustrating is you're trying to play golf, but other than that, it's all cool. Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, look, if you're down in Victoria, you'd have a golf sim. You wouldn't have one up in Queensland. There's no need.
Oh, no, look, I've played golf in Canberra, mate, at 6 o'clock in the morning in winter, and you're like, you guys are nuts. Anyway, so, look, but we're all simulator drivers, so we're equally all nuts. Let's get back to the race, mate. The Gaming Gear Direct Golf Simulator. I think it'd fit in my sim room. I've got enough room, but I'd have to sort of move my massage chair for it.
Here we go. Again, Magri's there at the rear bump, and Jeffrey's got a cover. He looked for the fake. He looked for the double take. Didn't quite get there. Jeffrey is defending for all money. They've got a breakaway at the front here. The top three have now got 2.5 seconds back to Jackson Pringle. He's struggling to come back at them. Skulls are starting to take some time out of Pringle. They are coming back just a little bit. It's something that's going to take time. It's going to take this full stint. But how good is Magri right now? He's right there. How good is the defensive driving from Ben Jeffrey? This is an all-star battle in the Gaming Gear Direct Premier Endurance League Championship finale. This has got championship written all over it. It's so important for Ben Jeffrey to hang on to this one. And Daniel Magri's just there. I just want to win one. I just want to win a race.
Well,
Keegan?
but Ben could let him go. Sorry, Keeks. Ben could let Daniel go and just settle in behind him, right? And come second and take the championship. But I think Ben's got double trophy sights.
I think he's losing time to Skulls as well as he's doing these battles, as we see Kuista in the wall, I think, again in the McLaren.
Yep. Well, that's Alex Court picking off another driver.
I was about to draw our attention to Court as he was right up behind that BMW there. Charging his way through the field just again. Doing really well.
That's important to note for Alex Court. Inside the top 10 now, that's a big one for him. But my problem here is, Keegan, you know how bad the dirty air is across the top. Do you think that Ben's just barely hanging on to this race lead, and if as soon as he drops in that dirty air, he's done?
I don't think so. We saw really good early pace from Jeffrey, even when he was in the draft with other cars. He has quite a good grip of the car across the top, I think. I was watching him follow some of the other cars there. I think he's just trying to hope that Magri's tyres drop off a little bit soon and that he can just stay away from him for a little bit longer. So then he has those few cars buffer back to Skulls. Skulls has got to get past Pringle. Pringle's not an easy car to pass, that's for sure. He's going to put up a fight. He doesn't care about the championship. He's trying to get that top three, possibly even the win. We saw he had really good pace early on. Magri raging up once again in behind Jeffrey. Wood just waiting to see what happens, I think.
I think they put, on the previous lap by, they put about 7/10 over Pringle. Lap times at the moment, 2:02.8, 2:02.9, 2:02.9 for our top three, 2:03.3. So pace has dropped off a fair bit, which we were expecting with the fuel. Skulls back into the 2:02.7s. So he's the fastest in the lead group. Took half a second out of Jackson Pringle on that last lap. Indeed, he is now into the draft range of Jackson Pringle. So that's going to be quite important now. He's just gotten there. That's going to be critical to his race, because if he can tie himself onto the back end of Jackson Pringle, pull himself along, that's free pace. He's creating it out of nothing, Pete.
It's still insane paces, right? They're all doing sort of high twos at the moment, which are on what I would say is half tank for a GT3. But that's still a cracking pace, man. I mean, most average sim racers would be lucky to be doing 4s and 5s around here. So, we got the top 5, 6 drivers still doing, high 2s, dipping into the low 2s as they get down into fuel. So, these guys are flying. They are genuinely doing a fast pace, for a GT3 around Bathurst. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the clean racing. I think, Ben's defending, but he's defending quite cleanly, not over aggressively. If he let Dan go, then Potentially, he's probably going to make his whole race a lot easier, but, what race driver wants to let P1 go? I don't know any race driver that really would do that.
I'm just going to go back and have a quick look at the stops and just see. Ben Jeffrey went
Speed,
up on the jacks. They're going side by side in through the chase, and Jeffrey's starting to lose time. I can tell you, just about all of them took tyres. Ben Jeffrey went up on the jacks, so he definitely took tyres. So that's not the issue. They're all taking tyres at that first stop. It's just that a few of the drivers come out a little bit earlier. Anthony Holmes just said he was going to let somebody through, so he was struggling at that point in time. So in Coleman's caught up to Anthony Holmes. And now he's right in his rearview mirror as well. So we've got this cracking battle going on for the lead. Holmes just, all right, you know what? You can have it. Not interested in fighting you. And that is going to be important for these guys as well. Because now this gives Owen Coleman and Anthony Holmes perhaps the opportunity to work together here and catch back up onto the leaders. Magri wants that spot. He is sick of waiting. He's sick of being held up. He thinks he can lead. He thinks he can punch out. Keegan, it's difficult to get a pass around. It looks easy at Bathurst, but it is anything but in a GT3 car.
These cars are really, really wide. Like, they don't look it on the TV, but they're pretty wide cars, and you're going to struggle to fit them too wide in a lot of places across the top here. It's super sketch to do a move across the top here in the best of circumstances. So you really want to try and set yourself up for down the chase as they scrape the wall once again. Magri could go for it down into the S's just here, but again, really super risky. Basically, you're just setting up the entire across the top of the mountain for getting that good run on to Conrad and making that move down into the chase. But we've seen Jeffrey defending really super hard. It's just a matter of time until Jeffrey runs out of a little bit of grip and maybe Magri goes around him. Or Jeffrey is just going to hold him there until Magri runs out of tyres. Wood has now joined right onto the back of Magri as well now, going down Conrad. I think this is about to get super spicy.
Yeah, and there's another battle pack that's actually just formed up in the last couple laps as well. Pringle not only has 0.2 of a second just in the back of that shot over Matthew Skulls, and Dodds has now bought his way into that equation. So the sums are starting to come together. If you want to win a championship, you got to set it up. You got to be in the right spot at the right time in a number of rounds. And the numbers, they're starting to add up. And we are just about to hit that halfway mark. Magri Schumacher touches the grass on the way down into Murray's corner. Now he's going to have to block. He knows that he's quicker than Nick Wood. Nick Wood will want to get this spot done, and he's allowed him to settle back in there. Good defensive driving from Magri. Had to cover that one immediately, but he nearly lost it for the second. So there's a little bit of scratchiness in this race coming through from Daniel Magri. He's banged the wall on the inside of the Forest Elbow. He's now made a huge error on the run down of Murray's. And Pete, mistakes creeping in at this point of the race is not a good thing you want.
Well, mate, we are 6 seconds over the 1 hour mark. So any chance there's a little bit of Bathurst fatigue coming in? Maybe some of these drivers have been driving the Majors 24 and have double tapped the race today, and there might be a little bit of sim fatigue. Who knows? But 1 hour, and most normal humans who do sim racing will do a single stint at Bathurst, which is about 1 hour to 1 hour and 5 minutes, sort of that period with the full tank. Right on that now, and then we're about to get into the second hour. And that's the real testing thing of this Premier Endurance League. That's what I really like about it, right? Every other endurance race we do, except for the 4 hour Nürburgring, they're all team races. They're all declared drivers. They're all, you must do, share your stints. Not many people can do multiple stints, stint after stint after stint, let alone doing them at a track like Mount Panorama. So maybe we're seeing some of that's coming into the fore, right? We're fully settled. We're mid-tank. We're mid-stint through the through the second of 3 stints. Maybe there's just that little bit of brain switching off a little bit to have a bit of a break, and that's what's impacting some of these things are getting into it. But I've got to tell you, mate, this lead for the fight is still going on, and Dan's having another crack at him now.
Yeah, here it comes. And this is important for both of these guys' races. This is important for the championship. This is important for everything that's at stake. 5-round championship. Worst round, wiped out. That's what's kept Matt Skulls alive in this championship. Could not race at Phillip Island. Was not at home that weekend. Was not there. Was not able to take part. That's what it's all about for the Premier Endurance Racing League. It's about participation. It's about getting the drivers in. It's about making you feel welcome. It's about getting as many drivers out on the track Indeed, if you're struggling out on track and you're looking for an opportunity to improve your driving, there's 2 sponsors I can point you in the direction of. Gamer Gear Direct have just picked up a couple different new manufacturers of racing equipment, as Skulls is going to get defensive here down into Griffins. To the outside now as Harry Dodds. He's going to have to go the long way around on the dirty line. Just able to stick it around the outside, but loses the overlap. Will not be able to get the overtake done, but he is coming hard and fast at these guys at this point in time. Gamer Gear Direct will get you out there. We'll get you out underway with sim equipment. They are the sim experts and virtual motorsport mentor. You know why? Because even professionals need coaching. That's why they do what they do. If you want to get a little bit better, I can tell you Chris Purnell and the team, very, very good coaches around the mountain. A track that certainly needs a little bit of coaching to get you through, Keegan. It's tough. It's tricky at this point in time. And look at how hard these drivers are working. How's that fatigue factor starting to kick in? I think we're seeing it from Magri.
Definitely. A couple mistakes in the last few laps for Magri. He's just quite desperate. I think he's getting a little bit frustrated now. Well, probably more than a little bit frustrated behind Jeffrey. And he has wood all up in his rear bumper as well. Someone that I've just been looking at going down the field is Owen Coleman. We saw him make a move just earlier. Since the pit stops, he's been doing low 202s this whole time. Super consistent. He's cutting through the field at the moment. He's cutting through a couple back markers, as we could see. But he is just absolutely on it in that Mercedes. And he's posted a couple 201s in there as well. Really good lap times. I'm expecting him to be catching on to the back of this top 6 or so, probably before the next pit stop, I'd say.
He's right there and in the equation now. This point in time, he's a fair chunk off of the back of Harry Dodds, but Dodds is starting to fall off the rear bumper as well of Matthew Skulls, and Skulls has struggled. We saw this in the first stint as well. Struggled to hang on to the tyres on the very longest of runs, and he's starting to fall off the rear bumper, so there could be a couple of cars starting to come back his way. Nick Wood's another one of those drivers who had pace early on in the stint and then fell away a little bit. He's now struggling to keep up with Magri and Ben Jeffrey. And those guys, I think we're going to get to the end of this race, and I tell you what, Ben Jeffrey is going to be sick of seeing the Riot Sim Racing BMW front end in his rearview mirror, and I think Daniel Magri has just about had enough of seeing Ben Jeffrey's car out through his windscreen. Such is the performance on display at this point in time. They're settling themselves in for the long haul as well here, Pete, and that's critical around the mountain.
Well, the good thing for Gamer Gear Direct is that Dan Magri is going to have the image, mentally stuck in his mind, like for 2 hours looking at the back of the Mercedes. That logo is going to be there forever. So, if he, the right man is. He's driving well. He's put a lot of pressure on. Ben's had the defence. It's a cracker race so far, mate. Really enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking at about sort of 15 minutes more before we look at the
here we go! Race impacting! Huge moment! Anthony Holm heavily in the barriers. I think it was Matt Sisole was trying to let them all through. That's not triggered a safety car as of yet. We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. We're not in range of making it home. So making a pit stop, you'd only do it once the safety car was called for certain. At this point in time, there's another car off the road down at the back end, and I can tell you there's a battle on there side by side. Magri finally got to the inside of Ben Jeffrey for the race lead, but couldn't pull the car up at the chase. So action at the hour and 5th minute has just kicked off at both ends of the mountain, right down here at the bottom, all the way back up at the top. When it delivers, boy, the mountain. Oh, Holm is done.
No
safety.
That's
a shame.
All the cars have gotten go again, and the guys from 24/7 Sim Services, they made a consistent call, right? If the cars are running, we don't need the safety cars. Nobody else going out on track. Whilst it looks untidy to start with, the race can carry on, and that's good for those that are running hard.
And that's taking out somebody else as well. It was Alex Court that got involved.
There we go. There's your commentator curse. There's your commentator curse, Scott.
We've all got one here this evening. Pete, who are you laying off?
Oh no, I've already shot Braden O'Loughlin in the foot, mate. He was gone laps ago. Yeah. Sorry, Braden.
He pulled the trigger early, so unfortunately for Matt Sisole, that's race just about done from his perspective. Huge moment up and across the top, and with the Audi, once you get out there and into the grass, you have to lift off. It was bouncing off the curb, I think, that unsettled him. I think he was okay with the grass. And unfortunately...
There's nothing you can do. Once you touch that grass, you're essentially a passenger, right? All you can do is sort of, just put your foot on the brakes and hopefully you don't take some of the cars out and they can pull up in time. And unfortunately, in this case, a couple didn't. But just a little bit overdriving, understeered off into the grass. And as we all know, grass is like ice on iRacing. So,
well, ladies and gents, with this battle pack set up as the way it stands, it's a really good opportunity for us to just take 5 minutes. We're going to step away to bring you the final 50 minutes of the season and keep your eyes on a couple of the in-car shots. That is what it looked like from safety cars being deployed. Well, forget that break. We were going to have it. Now we're not. Safety car's already been called. It's already been called. So
the car's been called, but the car's got going again.
Leaders are already freezing the field and they're pulling the things up. I wonder if Pringle's going to dive in a lane. The leaders were all up and around that pit lane entry. They're not in the window. They're not in the window to get home, but there's a huge gap out behind them. It's fuel that you don't have to add at that final stop. I'm really surprised somebody hasn't dived in from that lead 6.
Well, they all need it that now. This is the thing. They all need a full stop plus about 5 laps of fuel, right? So when do you take this splash and dash? Do you take your full stop now and have a splash and dash? Or do you drive through the safety car, extend the window and just take 1 stop? It's a guts call, mate. It's a big call.
Oh, man, it's a tricky call to make. I mean, I'd have a go. I would 100% have a go. I don't see why you wouldn't. Stefan Mellis, unfortunately, was the trigger for the safety car as he come up and over Skyline down through the S's. He's okay there, and Car just gets away from him there as he applies the brakes.
Yeah, just a little bit late on turning there by the looks of that.
Alex caught up in it, and Jacob Hughes was the next car through as well.
Yeah, and then it's a tough spot to try and turn around. Really tough spot there and not impact any other cars. But he did get going again, but safety car was already out.
So, the lead pack have all just about bunched up. Ben Jeffrey is just holding them on the station. They are not going across the top here with any sort of pace whatsoever at the moment. So, they're all sort of freezing it down, which I don't hate. That's sort of what you're supposed to do under a safety car condition, which is realistic. Safe
race pace, don't they say? Safe race pace without overtaking. Get around, and if something's on the track, you got to slow down and be cautious. So, Ben can really drive at the speed he wants. What it does is it actually gives people behind them a chance to catch up to the leaders before they get to the safety car, try and sneak into pits and get a bit of an advantage if Ben holds them up. So if you're not in this lead group, then I think, there's a potential there to have a crack. Car 225. Who's that? Nick Bottrell seems to be holding up a little bit of a group down the back at Conrod Straight there. So potentially there is 2 packs running around at the moment. That second pack has a real chance to maybe take a pit stop and see how they go.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious as to who's going to dive in. I think if you're Daniel Magri, why not? Why not? You're quicker. You're going to save yourself 20 seconds in terms of a pit stop. There's a few guys now coming from the tail end of this one. Is that Dodds? That is indeed Dodds. And Owen Coleman's come in as well. I love this strategy call. I think this is the right call.
I don't. But anyway, I would err on the side of the driving the tank out because we know Bathurst really only has 2 or 3 overtaking opportunities. Sure. And you've got to be really quick over the mountain. So potentially the guys that are pitted now can be held up by style cars to get around them. And that can impact their overall position. So I would have erred on the side of caution of staying in front as much as possible.
This is 40 or 50 litres here, Pete, that they can get knocked out of the way. Because remember, we're about 25, 30 minutes into this second stint, right? We're only 10 minutes away from the pit lane window opening. These guys have only got to come in for a 10, 15 second splash and dash at the tail end of the race. They're saving themselves such a long time. First cycle through the pit lane, the end-to-end time is 50 seconds for the entire field. These guys, they've just come through the lane, so we're looking for Harry Dodds as the first driver. Oh, I'm going to throw it to you, Keegan, here in a moment. Trust me, it's coming. He went through in 46 seconds. So he was only 5 seconds of a tank away from coming back to the pit lane, right? So there was only a chunk of the tank left there. That's such a huge margin, Keegan.
I think, yeah, I'm going to disagree with Peter despite the fact that he is the stats man. But we've seen Dodds, and we saw Coleman, and we saw Foster come in as well in that pit stop sequence there. We're going to have another lap under this safety car, so we'll have another opportunity if you want to jump into the pit lane. We might see a few more jumping in now.
It's too late. You can't come in the second time by. Your window's gone.
That is true. That is true.
Well, you lose more spots if you come in the second time around. You still can do it. Now, what I'd say is the guys that come in, if there's another safety car, let's say in the last 50 minutes we have another safety car, so a third 3-lap safety car period, then essentially they might be able to really, really close to making it to the end, and it's the golden strategy. So flip a coin, boys. In my mind, if it's green all the way in, I'm still thinking that the leaders have done the right thing. Because essentially they get to pull away, they do get to pit, and when they get to pit, they'll get their own little bit of track space to be able to run at their pace, right? Whereas the guys that are pitted, they're going to have to slow down a little bit to overtake some of the cars that are a little bit slower at the back of the field. So that's my mentality, that's my race mentality from a crew chief's perspective. I think it's just too early, but it is a gamble to take it, and I think the gamble will pay off if there's a third safety car.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to use this opportunity here because we're going to be doing at least one more lap on the safety car. We're going to take ourselves just a couple minutes break here, so just sit tight. Maybe it's time to sit down, relax, and listen to the Mercedes GT3 engine. Maybe it's time to have a look at some flames shooting up the rear end of a McLaren. Either way, this is the sights and the sounds of the Premier Endurance Racing League, and that is what it looks like from the inside of Ben Jeffrey's Mercedes AMG.
So
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't want to bore you with all the snooze fest that is a safety car period and what it can be sometimes. We've settled ourselves back in. Race is literally about to restart at this point in time, and as of a lap ago, Matthew Scholes came to the pit lane. That puts him in 25th position. If he is going to win this championship, he's going to do it the hard way. He potentially can make the end of the race from here. It's still a fuel save and a half to make it, but he's in the window. Ben Jeffrey's got control of the field. We'll see if this one settles in. We'll see if this can get back underway nice and cleanly. And who's got the pace? Somebody else is diving into pit lane there from the traffic at the same time. Don't hate the decision. It's Adam Jepson. This is going to buy Adam Jepson a completely free track, but he's going to be a long way off the tail end of the field. Now, it's going to be Ben Jeffrey that gets a good run. There's a huge checkup still around the last corner. Cars still at the tail end of the field haven't started rolling as of yet. So we'll see who can pick a number of cars up. But in the meantime, this battle up at the front end of things. Daniel Magri versus Ben Jeffrey. It's going to continue. Nick Wood didn't get a good run. There's a car a mile off out in the weeds on the left-hand side. It's Owen Coleman! Oh no! What a night he was having. He played the strategy card, he put himself in a great spot, and now he's fallen by the wayside, and now the field are all going to have a crack. Can Matthew Scholes make the end of this race from this point in time, Peter Baxter? That is the question we're all after. Pringles round! And it's still kicking off as we make our way through the cutting on this first lap after the restart. Lots of smoke as the cars make their way in through from the back end of the field. They've managed to sort it out. Pringle's still hard against the barrier on the left-hand side. Lots of checking up. He'll now escort his way out of the server. That could decide the race. If there was another safety car there, anyone who pit under the previous caution makes it home, and they get shuffled to the front of the field, and Scholes was one of those. Now the drivers will try and settle themselves in. This will tell the story of what happened with Coleman. Got the tyres on the grass on the right-hand side. Lots of checking up across the top of the mountain. They're nearly side by side. Look at the chaos that unfolds here. This is Pringle. Does he get in too hot? Yeah, he does. Does he get a little bit of help? Actually, he might have got a little bit of help.
yeah, well, that one's for the race control boys to have a look at. And I've got to say, I don't like people towing when there's a safety car around, because essentially it changes the race for those that took the risk of whether there's another safety car out. And you and I talked about this, Scotty. Those that pitted earlier in that last safety car, part of that gamble was expecting another one to come out. And that might have very well made the difference for Matty Scull to run to the end under full fuel or versus run to the end with fuel saving, if at all he can make it. So, yeah, ultimately it's changed the race just by jumping out like that and without actually letting the race director do his job as a race director. So, well, I think there's going to be a question mark now on the end of this race.
We need to update you, ladies and gentlemen at home, on the drivers that have pit and their pit stop numbers, the laps that they came to the lane, because this is going to be so crucial. At the end of lap 33, we were about 42 minutes to go to the end of this race. Anyone that pit under that caution, if they have to pit, they've got the tiniest splash to go. That's all they're going to have to add. So there'll be a couple guys who'll try and go as deep into this race as they possibly can. Scholes is one of those. He's a long way down there. Nigel Seidel pit on lap 33 as well. At the end of lap 32, coming to 33. Owen Coleman was 31. We've already seen the incident that happened to him. And there's chaos at the back end of things as drivers are still trying to warm up their tyres and settle themselves in. Keegan, have you got an update? Who's the driver furthest ahead that pit under that most recent caution? And what numbers have you got to help us out here?
It was Coleman, but my numbers have been thrown into a flip now. It looks like it might be Foster now. Actually, no, sorry, it's Dodds. Dodds back up into the top 10 once again. He pitted. He was one of the first guys we saw come in before the safety car, before the field actually caught the safety car.
Is that another accident?
It looks like it was up on the top of the hill.
Jacob Hughes from the Right Sim Racing Group.
Oh, and another one. Yep.
And another one is a Porsche in the S's. And that Porsche was only just ahead of Matthew Scholes just a few moments ago. So They've now cleared that one, and this is the best run Daniel Magri's had all night. Is he finally going to get to the race lead? Magri's got it! He's got it! He's got it! Damn it, that's Chase! Finally, the number 35 BMW will lead the Premier Endurance Racing League. Final round of the 2 hours of Bathurst. He's been there. He's squabbled after it all night. Ben Jeffrey slid just about every lap so far tonight. And now Daniel Magri has the race lead. This will tell the story of the 196 Porsche as it crests the hill at Skyline. I'm assuming Porsche thing, cold tyres, Porsche heavily into the barrier, dodges everyone. Great job.
No, it's just a Porsche, mate, not gold tyres.
Offline a little bit here for the Lamborghini of Shoes, and that is a destroyed Lamborghini that will not see the end of the race. He is out of fast repairs, and that's night over for him. Well, Peter, this changes things. Now, for the first time tonight, we get the opportunity to see if Magri's got pace in the front, or if Ben Jeffrey was holding him up, or whether or not Ben Jeffrey can stick with him. And for the first time tonight, Ben Jeffrey's got dirty air across the top of the mountain.
And intuitively, they've got, in my mind, they've got 2 or 3 laps left before they need to come in and pit. So I think they had about 6 laps of fuel left after that safety car from just from working the numbers from ahead. So that would give them 2 or 3 laps. Then they've got to come in and do what will be their final pit stop of the race. And then they've got to catch back up. And so this is, mate, this race is open, because it's different amount of pit times, it's different amount of pits. There's potentially a safety car, and somebody who has a crash can change this race by escaping without towing.
Oh, there's another accident.
And there's another one right in front.
And where is Skulls in amongst that?
It's just driven through that again.
It's rolling. It's rolling. It's the 119. It's Luke Mackay.
No,
I believe.
And there's another tow without a safety car, mate. And I'm going to make this point, right? If you're in a series with a safety car, then you've got to respect the tows, because essentially you're impacting the race that people are making decisions on. And personally, I don't like that. I think it's one way or the other. Anyway, I've said my bit.
Even as someone who does race control, it's just incredibly frustrating when people do something like that. It takes away from the race strategy. Like you're saying, we have another massive one coming down into the final corner.
Skulls gets through again!
And the safety car has been called out this time. So the boys in race control have taken no time. They've called the safety car straight out. It's going to come out in the pits and we'll see a race down. This now changes it, makes it an advantage, Matty Skulls, I think. Depends if Dan Magri and Ben can get around. Get in and out of the pits before Matty gets in front of them. So this is one to watch.
There is a couple of slow cars on pit straight, I can tell you that much.
Skullsy's in front of him. He went through them.
He's up to turn 2 at the moment.
Yep. I'm watching Skullsy live at the moment. He got through that last crash. He got through 4 crashes in a row. But they're still on race pace. So
they're driving back to the pit lane at breakneck pace. I can tell you, the safety car has been deployed. So this will be the last pit stop of the Premier Endurance. You can, if you're in Matthew Skulls' hands, you can make it to the end of the race from here. That is no doubt. This is Foster and Gerard. And Gerard's trying to redress this. We've seen that incident before. We have seen that incident before in V8 supercars. That is Jamie Whincup, Garth Tander, and Scott McLaughlin. Was that, 2011?
2015?
2015. We've seen that exact incident.
Yep.
Almost carbon copy. That's insane.
That's exactly what it is, man. It is. No, it's the 2016. Garth Tander and Jamie Whincup. Yep.
A few more cars involved in that one, unfortunately. But that crosses out Foster as well, who was looking all right for because he pitted earlier. So because of the safety car he was betting on.
Well, this now. So this is on board from Skulls, I believe. No, this is the Lamborghini. Sorry. McClimate. This is Leith McClimate. Leith was doing so well the last couple of rounds too. Do you remember him back at Imola? He drove an amazing race at Imola, and then at the Nürburgring, he ran a phenomenal race. So the whole field are in. Magri got the lead of the race. How important is Magri getting the lead of that race at that point in time? Where is Skulls?
Skulls has just gone past the pit entry. Skulls has just gone past the pit entry. He's just about to go over the start-finish line now.
No, you know what I noticed? Ben Jeffrey didn't go on the jacks. Ben Jeffrey did not go up on the jacks. There'll be no tyres for Ben
No
Jeffrey
tyres.
here. Skulls is clear. Skulls has got him. Skulls is up to P5 in this race. Court is going to come through into P6. Where's Nick Wood? Where's Daniel Magri? Magri gets Ben Jeffrey.
There's no overtaking now. The safety car's up past the cutting, going up into McPhillamy now. So the guys will catch up and settle in now. But what it does is reordered the whole field.
So there's a couple
And-
cars that are interesting in this one, Pete, as well, because we've got a difference in pit lane laps. There's about 2 laps worth of difference in terms of the fuel mileage.
Yeah, but this safety car will make sure that those guys that pitted in the last safety car, they will make it to the end now. I have no doubt about it.
And here comes the checkup as well, which is important across the top. So all of these guys, we are 30 minutes left to run. Skulls is going to make this. He's
Really
going to win the
big-
champion. That pit stop strategy is going to win him the championship. He hasn't been a quick car today. You would definitely say that Ben Jeffrey has been quicker. How does Jeffrey react? This is the first time Ben Jeffrey's been on the back foot tonight. Keegan, have you got some answers for me?
I've got one thing to say, and the big winner out of all of that was Harry Dodds. He has blitzed them all. He was really fast in that second sequence after that first safety car, and he is now at the front of the field. We've seen him coming through the field, and he's got good pace. He's got Dutch, Edwards, and then Coleman, and then Skulls in behind him. I think he might have a good chance here. He's gonna end up with only about 30 minutes left to run here, and he's in P5, and that's all he needs to do. He just needs to stay in front of Jeffrey. Jeffrey's got Magri to get past and Court, 2 guys that we know have been really, really quick tonight, and Magri has been super defensive, and he's been super aggressive as well. I don't think Jeffrey's gonna get past Magri anytime soon.
Well, this is important as well from Nick Wood's championship perspective, because of the night that Adam Jepson has had so far. At the moment, so this is prior to this pit cycle, we actually had Nick Wood as jumping Adam Jepson at this point in time. The rest of them don't really matter. It's about the top 4. Effectively, you've got 2 fights going on. It's Adam Jepson versus Nick Wood, and Matt Skulls versus Ben Jeffrey, because Skulls and Jeffrey are far enough up the field that it's sort of crossed Wood and Jepson out a little bit. So that's your championship. My word. Matthew Skulls took a chance, has not been quick all night, has been sitting around, lurking underneath the water in P5. And Pete, you said this was the wrong strategy.
I know it was the wrong strategy for race to green, mate. But it was a strategy taking the risk that there will be another safety car. We all know Bathurst is a bit like that anyway. Look, I mean, Harry's pulled it out of the cards. I think Keegan's absolutely right. Harry, Andrew, the guys at the front there, they've pulled a masterstroke by taking that out and surprising everybody at that early pit stop. But essentially now, I'm seeing we got 2 things going on now. We've got now a race for the race, but we've also got a race for the championship, and they're now 2 different things because of where everybody is. So I think it's going to be quite exciting.
Where's Jepson in all of this is my biggest concern. He's in 23rd. And that will be enough to lock him out. There is no way he gets through this one. You know what? Let's talk to our championship contenders. Let's see if we can grab one of them at the moment. I know Skulls, he's always up for a chat in the booth. So we'll see if we can grab him. Matty Skulls, that was a brave strategy call. How comfortable did you feel making it, brother?
I was very nervous, but I knew the boys in front of me had pace, so I said, I'm just throwing the dice here because they've got me if we just stay out here, so I thought I had to do something different.
You can't make that call. It's a desperate move, obviously. Were you good if we went green to the end there?
I needed to save about 5 litres.
You were tight. You were extremely tight. So put that in context. At the point in time where that safety car was called, I think you're about 20 seconds off the lead. It was going to be 50 seconds in the lane, so you would have popped out about 20 seconds ahead. You can save 5 litres in that margin, mate. A little bit of a different ball game now. We've got you sitting in 5th place at the moment, but the key thing is the strong Alex Court immediately behind you. You've got Daniel Magri just in behind him, so another teammate worth of support, and Ben Jeffrey. 4 spots cover the top 2 in the championship, mate. It's going to be a blockbuster to finish this thing.
Yep, it should be enjoyable. Looking forward to it. I've got no doubt he'll be coming because he's got plenty of pace. So I Who else? There was somebody else. Who else is in third too? He's in around there too somewhere.
Nick Wood. Nick Wood was the other driver. He's a little bit further
It
back.
was Nick Wood, was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't make the benefit of that pit lane strategy. So he's dropped now to 13th at this point in time, mate. All right, we'll leave you with it. Buckle up, because I think you might want to pull on those belts, make them a little bit tighter.
Yep. Pucker up. We'll be right.
Good luck, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers.
And I will see if we can try and grab Ben Jeffrey as well. Ben, I believe we've got another lap here under safety car. It was a risky call from Skulls and a few of those drivers to pit under that most recent safety car, mate.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
now left you a little bit on the hop. What's the strategy here? Because Magri had pace in that. That was a hell of a battle watching you two go toe to toe.
Yeah, he's crazy fast. Yeah, I kind of had the race under control, and now it's turned on its head. So let's see what happens.
How's the nerves feeling? How do you adjust as a driver in this sort of a situation?
Oh, mate, I've had a twitchy foot the whole race. It's been horrible, to be honest.
Is that twitchy foot's name Nick Wood?
Oh, yeah, everyone that was behind me. So
Mate, it was awesome. The
see.
defensive driving display, mate, was phenomenal to watch, actually. We're actually really confident in your abilities there, and eventually Daniel just got down the inside. Was that a lot of respect just showing you just couldn't keep him behind any longer, or too much risk?
yeah, I just didn't want to risk it. Just thought let him have it, and I'll just chase him.
So
Yeah.
what's the go here now? So obviously you've got Magri, Court, and then Skulls are the 3 cars ahead. Is it just go balls to the wall? You're going to have a crack?
Yeah, I got to beat Skulls. So that's the goal.
All right, mate. Well, Skulls said to us, look, I didn't have it tonight. I had to throw something at the wall. Well, that something's now stuck. It's your turn to
Yeah,
go and make that pass
definitely.
stuck. Stick, Ben, get into it, mate. Have some
Too
fun.
easy, fellas.
Well, that's the championship as it stands, ladies and gentlemen. And a unique opportunity to stare at the 2 drivers that are having a crack at each other in the championship. And look at how nervous. That changed Ben Jeffrey's whole outlook on the race, didn't it?
Oh, that made him nervous. He sounded nervous. He sounded like he had it all under control, and the happenings of the race has put some pressure on. So, the red mist of the drivers. Let's see how we go.
Well, the difference in mentalities coming into this restart. Who will take out the inaugural Premier Endurance Racing League Championship? Who will get to hold the trophy with the number 1 on the side of it? We're about to decide it. Can Harry Dodd spoil the party here and grab himself a win from Mount Panorama just to wrap things up? Andrew Dutch, Cameron Edwards, Owen Coleman, a number of cars in here searching for a late in the race podium. And here goes Dodds. 25 minutes on the clock. All of the field can make it home from here. There will be no more green flag stops. And we'll see how far we can get deep into this race. I think there's a check up at the last corner just to have a look at things as well. So there's everyone scattering and having a look. And already this car's out of shape. That's actually Daniel Magri. That works in Ben Jeffrey's favour because I think he's picked off Court as well. It's now going to be Skulls, Court, Jeffrey, Magri going backwards on cold tyres, and the driver that's probably had the pace of the field and been in control so far tonight. As soon as he got to the lead, he's now going backwards. Is this all on his own? Yep, just picked up that throttle.
Just too early on the throttle, mate. Driver being ambitious and trying to finish the race before he got going. And again, cold tyres, mate. The old GT3 model, cold tyre model. In iRacing, has caught another big out. They just don't stay warm anymore. You've got to warm them up. You've got to take half a lap. You've got to get the car going again. You've got to get back into rhythm, and that impacts the race. And we've just seen Dan there get caught out. So unlucky
One of
for
the
Dan.
best things I think about it is it actually eliminates Magri from the equation. I kind of like that Magri's not there because now we get to see Court will get out of here and Magri's feeding back across the track at a dangerous angle. Those tyres are still not up to temperature. He's going to have to park it there and just wait for the rest of the field to trundle by. On a night where you thought he might pick himself up a race win, whoa, that's a heavy whack with the barrier there, Keegan. Not a place you want to get all out of shape.
Yeah, that looks like a frustrated driver. Over to you, Keegan.
Court's just come past Skulls, so it is now Skulls followed by Jeffrey. We have got
he's slow.
an
They're all over each
battle on
other.
our hands.
Yep, there is nothing in it, and more chaos at the tail end of the field. That's Pringle involved in that one, and I think that might be Nick Wood or Glenn Arnott. There's 5 cars or so involved in that one. That's a huge incident. Another safety car's being called.
Another safety car. And by the way, boys,
Something's happened to Skulls.
Ben Jeffrey has got Scholes into the chase, but I think there's a little question mark over it. It's been referred to race control. So the race control are going to be involved in the championship here. I'm not making a call of it. I've seen it. I saw it live. I'm staying away from it.
I'm praying for Jonathan right now up in the race control booth.
Oh my word. We do not want this one decided in the steward's room. In the words of, and his name's just gone from my head. Mercedes race engineer, the crew.
Oh, that's Engel from the 12-hour earlier this year. When it's actually very similar. No, it's a very similar one. It's just a little bit of touch there, and is it race on or is it redress or is it something different? Well,
I think Skulls hasn't turned the fuel map up. I honestly, looking at it, he's just had no speed. So that's the 015 car losing the rear bumper, and then it's just a concertina effect. Everyone's trying to rejoin, and there's cars to the left, cars to the right, nowhere to really go. And then eventually, everyone just...
It's just really ugly, that is. Yeah, that's clumsy.
He's got steering damage. He wouldn't drive that way. That's Glenn Arnott. Glenn Arnott's a lot better than that. I've known Glenn for a fair length of time. That's just not something he would do.
Oh, Glenn, that's Lasser off. If that was me, Scotty going, I know, Pete, he does that all the time. So, a whole lot of credit there, Glenn. Sorry to hear in that an incident and everybody else has been caught up. Hopefully you can get your cars going and get to the end of the race.
Just been looking back at the pass from Jeffrey going past Skulls. Looks like the safety car was called just after that incident. Just listening back to the radio as that incident happened, it looks like Jeffrey just got down the inside and was clear of him before that safety car was called.
Yeah, I'm not going to second guess race control here. I know what I would make a decision, but it's all on them. They're going to make a decision. It's tough call. It's close racing, and it's for the championship. So, but the thing about race control is you just look at 2 cars in a race as an incident. These guys don't consider the championship. They will just look at it and make a fair call, and it'll be game on. So we'll leave it in their hands, eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
I was just doing some digging. I thought, but the first instinct that come to mind when I saw Skulls lose 2 spots in the space of a straight was, has he got the engine map turned down? No, bad exit off the elbow was what triggered all of that.
Yeah, he was slow all the way down Conrod Straight, and Ben had speed on him. He got the draft.
Really good move by Jeffrey in the end as well.
Brakes. Everybody's on the brakes, and there's nothing there he could do, is there? He did well to get through.
Dukes of Hazzard stuff there.
Yeah.
My word. The drama when it comes to the mountain. And the best part is, we're back to where we were before. So the strategies have played itself out. It's now a one-on-one fight. Ben Jeffrey versus Matthew Skulls for a trophy.
And we're going to be down to essentially 8-lap dash, I reckon. 8 or 9 lap dash to the end. Depends on whether we get another safety car or not. With Ben Jeffrey and Matty Scholes side by side. Again, race for the championship and a race for the race.
And Ari Dodds will be sitting here, counting his lucky stars, licking his lips, and getting ready to talk to us in about 15 minutes' time. Oh, word, it is... Here we go. Here we go. Just in, Ben Jeffrey versus Matthew Skulls. Race control. Wanted to get on top of it as early as possible so that it was clear and they could go back racing. It's been cleared. There is no penalty as a result of that one.
Absolutely, mate. It was a fair pass, to be honest. Like Ben
I
Jeffrey
agree.
was well and truly past the halfway mark of the car at the point of turning. Well and truly made it. It looked like a little bit like Manny might have turned into him. Ben had the right just to hold him off a little bit of a touch, and out it goes. Fair pass, good racing. Great call by race control. And the good thing is they've done it nice and early, so we can just get back to racing without worrying about penalties. Awesome stuff.
Yep, they wanted to get the drama out of that one away so that those guys could focus on their race because they've got another race and they've got a story to tell. In the meantime, they've got to unravel everything that went on in the mid-pack of that one, and that is going to be a nasty disaster. I reckon, just having a quick look, I reckon Bananas, you're right, boys, I think he's got suspension damage. Right, we settle ourselves down and in. It is going to be 15 minutes to go. I'm hoping this is the last safety car of the night because I do not want to see another one. Could you imagine if this finishes under a safety car? I just don't see it being good for anyone. So in the meantime, we're going to settle ourselves down. Now, Keegan, have you had a look at where the two drivers are strongest? So obviously we saw how good Ben Jeffrey was on that last lap and how good he was on the exit of the elbow and how good he was under brakes.
Absolutely. I think Skulls quite doesn't have the car set up to be running with Jeffries at the moment. He's just that tad bit off the pace. I think he's also quite nervous going onto that opening lap there. He lost a position, honestly, fairly easily to Court. Court was able to just shoot down his inside, and that, I think that offset him for the rest of the lap. And then once he saw Jeffrey in his rear view mirror, I think he might have just got that little bit out of line and has just lost it a little bit. I'm expecting Skulls to be right on the back of Jeffrey on this restart, though. I think he's going to have a go probably on that first lap, try and get the draft down into the chase and make the same move that Jeffrey did on him, and then just defend for the last however many laps we've got left. Only 15 minutes left to go, so it's going to be really interesting. The one I am really looking for is Court actually going to go for a go on Coleman as well. Both of those guys pitted. The Court pitted with everyone else, but Coleman pitted a little bit earlier. He pitted on that other safety car. So Coleman is going to be on not as good tyres, so Court is probably going to be right on the back of Coleman. And we saw on the last safety car restart, Court has really good pace on the restarts. He gets those heat into the tyres pretty quickly.
Yeah, indeed, he's been quite quick and quite aggressive on those colder tyres as well as you've got to. Harry Dodds leads the way at the moment, and the real question mark is Andrew Dutch. Qualified 34th, didn't actually set a qualifying lap, finds himself in second. So that's not just a casual 32 spots gain. That's a night out at the office, Pete.
That's not a bad chunk when you've only got 33 drivers racing. So, good on Andrew for that. That's we'll give him driver of the day so far. What do you think? He's come from nowhere too.
Did he start from the pit lane or did he start on the grid? Because there was a little bit of a tangle going out of the pit lane on that first lap as well. Might have to go have a look on that.
I think he did start from the track. Either way, it's from right down the tail end of the field. So he's done phenomenal. Like he's called the strategy perfectly. He was one of the guys that pit on the first lap of that previous safety car. So he's absolutely nailed the strategy. Called it to perfection. Yeah. So Cam Edwards has not had a bad night at the office either. We've seen a number of times that Cam Edwards has just let guys go. Qualified out of 17th, so let a number of guys go. One of them was Owen Coleman earlier in the race. Does he do it again?
I'd say not this late on in the race.
Safety cars pulling away now. We have 13 minutes of racing to go, so I'd say that's a 7-lap race left to go, and we're about to get underway.
Well, the good news, ladies and gents, whoever wins it out on track in their current standings, out of Ben Jeffries and Matthew Skulls, they will take home the championship. There's no points to worry about. It's too tight. One place will decide it. In the meantime, Harry Dodds, can he go one race, one win? from the front end of this thing. He's driven so well out in front from the Frog Leap Juice Racing team. Weak on tyres at the back end. This is only going to be a short run to the end. This is where he's strongest in terms of things. Holding everyone up. They all condense. This is it. The final 12.5 minutes of Premier Endurance Racing League Season number 1. Proudly brought to you by Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Proudly brought to you by Gamer Gear Direct. And he has Gamer Gear Direct gone early because he does not want to wait for Andrew Dutch to get to his rear bumper, and now it is all in the hands of Harry Dodds to see if he can get clear at the front end of this thing. Have a look at Coleman. He's crawling all over the rear bumper now of Cam Edwards and warming up the tyres as Harry Dodds. He's desperate to get some temperature into those tyres by the time he gets up here. Have a look at how close Coleman is. Coleman's going to go around the outside here of Cam Edwards and see if he can't sneak third place away. Edwards is going to fight him. So there's the first question answered. How close is Ben Jeffrey? Coleman wide! Coleman's had a huge check up there. That's going to back him up to Alex Court, which then is going to check up back to our championship contenders as well. So this is all kinds of important. Did Ben Jeffrey get through there? Ben Jeffrey has snuck through on Alex Court.
Yeah, Ben Jeffrey got a good run on the mountain straight, and he got past Alex Court on mountain straight. He's just pulling away a little bit right now, and Alex is... I mean, it's a single file lane of the mountain. It's really hard to overtake over here anyway.
This is teammates. Alex Court and Ben Jeffrey are teammates. So we haven't seen that action out of Riot Sim Racing. They said, look, you're on your own. You fight for yourself, you race for yourself, you get by. But now, it's now in Court's hands to see whether or not he can keep up with Ben Jeffrey. This is going to ruin it. This is over. Skulls has got to go now. He has to go now.
Yeah, a little bit of anxiety between the drivers at the moment with the team tactics going on. We'll let that race control to have a look at in terms of the rules. But essentially, Matty might be getting a little bit frustrated, getting held up by Alex there because Ben's getting away and he's getting a little bit of a gap there.
Scholes is coming right up onto the back of Court now. He's going to be hoping to make this move in the next few laps, or else Jeffrey's he's going to check out. He's already onto the back of the next few cars up the road.
Yeah, so we'll see if somebody gets down the inside. That's contact made at Hell Corner. Murray's corner. That's into the side. It's Alfonso the Teller and Matthew Carrick that are getting in there. And now Foster's getting involved in it. Foz has got down the inside of Carrick. See if he can settle it in. Manages to steal the spot away. And has managed to grab that one and come away with it. Back up at the heads of things now. Have a look at Cam Edwards. Still managing to barely hold that one off from Owen Coleman. Managing just barely as Cam Edwards to hold on to this P3. He wants a podium. He's in with a shot. How good's the run from Andrew Dutch? He's gone with Dodds. I thought for sure that Dutch didn't have the pace to go with him. And he's the pace go. And then Skull through the cutting. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. When it matters, when it's deep, when you've got to fight for it at the last, and Skulls says, get out of my way. I've got a championship to win.
I think he said something else along the way, but I can't think we can repeat it across the broadcast.
That's not a move. I've not seen that move done in a GT3 car. I've never seen it done in a GT3 car on outright pace like that. Those are even drivers.
But, mate, it puts the race back into it. It puts the championship back on the line, right? It moves Alex out of it. Alex can now sit behind because essentially, he's a guest driver here, Alex. He shouldn't be involved in the championship. And these guys can genuinely race for the championship. So I think that was a really good move. Alex had to sort of push out, but it was aggressive and I think it needed to be. But we got 5 laps to go, according to my calcs, and it's race on and it's championship on.
Yeah, and they'll set their sights on what they can possibly do, and Harry Dodds continues to lead that way. Andrew Dutch could win a race here. Could you imagine if Andrew Dutch, who's gained 32 spots, also chalks up the season finale with a win? That
basically a first to last run, it would be.
Yeah, he's turned on hard mode.
Oh, Larry Perkins, eat your heart out. First to last in 2 hours, right? So, we have a new Bathurst hero.
Coleman puts his name on the podium, and now it's going to be Cam Edwards that's the fork in the bottle for the championship contenders. I wonder if he knows. I wonder if he's aware here, Cam Edwards. And here comes Ben Jeffrey, starting to make contact with that rear bumper, pushing them along. pushing them along because he's that desperate to get away. The margin now to Skulls is closing. We've got 7.5 minutes left to go, and they're right there. Was that contact with the barrier? I think that was Dutch. Dutch has dropped a little bit of time now to Harry Dodds. My word. Can this get any more dramatically finale'd? Can we get another step in the escalation that has been this race? I know we climb a mountain, but boy, we didn't need to do it on the drama table.
Settling a championship on the mountain, isn't it the way that most Australian motorsport should be?
Last round at Bathurst? You better
last
believe
round at Bathurst, championship on the line, contenders, 1 and 2, in this case 5 and 6. Everything to play for the championship, everything to play for a Bathurst trophy. If they're really good, they got 4 cars to overtake for a double. We got 7 minutes to go of essentially what is 10 hours of endurance racing, and we still don't know what the result's going to be.
Yeah, and have a look at this now. Now Ben Jeffrey is starting to get a hurry on. He really senses that he's got to put another car in between himself and Skulls. Shadows to the left. He's going to have the inside now. He's got the overlap. They're coming down and through the chase. Is Edwards going to yield? Yes, Edwards lets him through. Skulls gets down the inside as well. He's got to get a run on. He's going to get this move done. He's had to lift. He's had to slot back in. Now Court's going to quarrel all over his rear bumper. Edwards blocks. Now Skulls is going to shadow and block Court. That's presented a run for Nick Wood. They go side by side through the last corner. So it's Trent Allen. It's Trent Allen that's all of a sudden involved in this one. And now Skulls has got to get a move on. Cameron Edwards is the cork in the bottle, and he's out of the way for Ben Jeffrey. 5 minutes and 45 seconds remain on the mountain.
Mate, Cam Edwards does not have to yield for anybody here. He is racing for position and he's racing for the race. So be it with the championship. He is a genuine contender for the race here, so he can race and block as hard as he can, and that's up to Matty to get around him. It sounds bad in terms of just watching the context of the championship. Someone like Alex Court, for example, which is a guest driver, stay out of it. But Cam Edwards, fair crack there, boy. Run on, race them, make them work for it, mate. Make them work for it, make them earn whatever they're going to earn.
Yeah, put the head down. Get your elbows out. It's championship racing time. Oh, and Trent Allen? Yeah, it was Trent Allen. Just whacks the wall for good measure. That's how hard these guys are pushing. There is nothing being left on the table. Nothing whatsoever. The Foz is in the wall. That's one milkshake too many on the mountain.
Foster into the wall there, unfortunately. But he's got heavy contact, yeah. No good for the McLarens, unfortunately. That's both of the Maccas out now.
Into the thick shake machine, Sozzy. Into the thick shake machine, mate. We'll enjoy it next series.
Well, he's got to get it done. There's 4.5 minutes left on the timing clock. He was blocked all the way up across the mountain. You can't overtake up there. And now Ben Jeffrey has put 1.5 seconds between himself and his nearest rival. This is so critical for Skulls. He's got to get it done now. Edwards is going to make him go the long way around. He's gotten in deep there at Skulls, and Edwards just says, right, yep, no problem. You've got that one done. You've earned that spot. Now it's yours. Now drive away. Go get him. Ben Jeffrey, 1.5 seconds the margin now. Can he defend it? There's 4 minutes left on the mountain. There is going to be I think we might get a third lap. We're on the fringe of a third lap here. Does that matter? Is that going to be enough time?
It might matter for Andrew Dutch, actually. It might matter because remember, Doddsy he was the first to come in on that second safety car. So if Andrew Dutch has saved a little bit more fuel by being in the draft, one extra lap might make a big difference here.
And Alex Cork nearly puts the tyres in the grass, trying to get this one back off of Cam Edwards as well. So he's going to grab a spot back late on in the piece. Skulls, can he run him down? 1.7 seconds the margin now. Ben Jeffrey, we talked to him. He was nervous. He was all out of control. He got aggressive on the restart. He got the job done. Did that settle the nerves? Is his heart pumping a mile a minute? It's a race at the mountain. It's been here for an hour and 57 minutes. There is nothing left in this thing. What have these boys got left to give us, Keegan? Has Skulls got the pace to run him down?
He's being released from Edwards now, and I think he might have a bit of pace. He needs a couple more laps, though. Jeffrey He's got clear space ahead of him. So Skull, he's not quite in the draft yet, but he's not too far off. I'd say we're going to get probably 2 or 3 more laps. One I'm really looking at the moment is Cameron Edwards has just been pushed high and wide these last few laps. He was absolutely robbed, basically, by Jeffrey early on, and then everyone else has started to come past him.
I'll tell you who I'm watching now, boys. I've taken my focus from the championship because I reckon that's almost settled there with the gap there. I've got it on the front. Now, Harry Dodds is not driving purely to race line. He is looking to defend here, so he's under pressure. Andrew Dutch
is what is that flag? White flag! White flag is out!
White flag.
It's done.
Here we go.
It's done. Ben Jeffrey's got to make a mistake. There is no way that he can lose that position without a mistake. All the way up and across the top. 1.6 seconds is the margin as they cross the line. They were nearly identical on their most recent lap times. The drama, the trials, the tribulation. We've had 5 races of 2 hours in length. It's been difficult. There's been accidents. There's been mistakes. And Harry Dodds leads the last one. Andrew Dutch is there. Coleman's got the pace out of these top 5, you know. He's the fastest car in and amongst them at the moment. And he's going to run out of time.
No, it looks like Harry might have it, and I think getting the white flag on this lap is would be quite refreshing for him because I've got to say I reckon he's going to run out of fuel.
Well, we'll see. It's only going to be another 3 kilometers from the crest of the mountain here. The final time he's going to crest that hill. He's going to look down into the darkness as the sun starts to set at Mount Panorama. The cloud cover it's been over. The track it's been cool. Look at the marbles as they've built up. Look at the rubber laid down on the racing line. There's been a battle here. A battle for the ages. A gladiatorial combat, you'd just about say, between Jeffrey, between Magri, between Skulls, Dodds, you name them. Even think back to Nick Woods, who's been in and amongst it. The drama that's gone on, the contact, the guys, gladiatorial combat. The only way you can describe it with how they've gone toe-to-toe. Andrew Dutch, has he got anything left here for Harry Dodds? He's 0.3 of a second back. It's too much. It's too far. The 981 of Frog Leap Juice Racing. They've got 1 more quarter to go, these boys, and it's going to be Harry Dodds in victory lane. He's got to pull it up. The mirrors are trying to be fooled from Dutch. He's trying to force a mistake. There's nothing left. It's AMG at the mountain, and Harry Dodds comes out your victor. Andrew Dutch will get home in P2, and what a drive from Colin. He has had such a chaotic night. Ben Jeffrey will wind up with the championship by next to nothing, and Skulls will be denied at the very, very last. The mountain, it always shakes us to the core. The cars, the engines, they shake us to the core. You climb, you fall, and I think that sums up the race tonight. The drivers out there, they've climbed, they've fallen, and only one stands champion at the top. Pete, that was a motor race.
Mate, what a classic race. And, there was a crew chief moment right in the middle with those safety cars, whether you pit it or don't pit it. It made the change for the end of the race, and those extra safety cars at the end certainly mixed it up. Massive congratulations to Harry Dodds for his call. For that call for the 4 or 5 cars that went in. That was the difference for the race tonight. Massive congratulations to Ben for taking out the championship. It was only by 14 points in the end, but it was a big win. So awesome. Well, I guess we'll get to talk to quite a few in a short amount of time.
In the end there, the gap between Jeffrey and Skulls was only 0.6 of a second, so Skulls really closed up in that last lap there. He was probably about a second away going on to the second to last lap, but then he closed that up in the end. I was watching his onboard towards the end there, and you could see him closing and closing, but it just wasn't enough in the end. Maybe another lap or 2, he might have had a good chance, but unfortunately just not enough time left.
I don't think that this season deserved anything different from the championship finale. That was it was just nuts. There was no other way that could have gone. How good was the drive from Owen Coleman? How good was that drive? Because he had so much pace late on in that piece. He drove it through the field. Look, Andrew Dutch, all power to him. He's done such a great job to come from 34th to second. But Coleman started off, I think, on a worse foot because he had an incident early. And that set him back. And he's driven the way through the field. So there's two guys there that have shown you can do this one the hard way and get on the podium.
Yeah, and they come from nowhere. They weren't really in the race until they sort of pulled themselves to the front through strategy, and then held it from the end. So that's awesome driving, and that one of that also goes to show is how even the field is across the board, right? So guys from midfield can make a strategy call and hold on to it for an hour's worth of racing. That makes it an even field to race in. So what a cracker of a series to be a part of.
My word. Well, that's the field. That's how it runs down. And we talked about it at the top end of the show. Harry Dodds makes his debut and sticks it in P1. Strategy call was the difference. He put himself in track position and he got it done with track position. Ben Jeffrey's going to come out your championship winner. So podium, Harry Dodds, Andrew Dutch, Owen Coleman. Ben Jeffrey, Matty Scholes finishing just off the podium. The championship battle goes down to 0.3 of a second. Alex Court and Cam Edwards, Trent Allen, Matty Gerard. Nick Wood gets home in 10th place. Adam Jepson in 12th. We're going to have to check the numbers on that one because that one's going to be really, really tight in certain of the championship race. Andrew Powell will split them in 11th place. Justin Davies, Alfonso Latella, Nigel Seidel, Matt Carrick, Matt Norris, Jorgen Smith home inside the top 18, 49 seconds off the race lead as well. Last car on the lead lap, Anthony Holm finishes one lap down. The Foz doesn't make the checkered flag. Matt Cizole, Daniel Magri, we saw him, he pushed so hard, he went out there, he earned the race lead, and it fell by the wayside. Luke Mackay did not have a great night. Stefan Mellis alongside him. Bottrell Pringle had pace early on as well. Leith McClymont, Glen Allen, we saw that incident late on for him. My word, boys, we've got a podium to unwrap here. First and foremost, I think we're gonna look for interviews in the next few things. But I think so. We know who's won the championship. The difference then comes down to who finishes in P3, and I think we're gonna have to do some numbers on that one. So what? Jepson was 12th and Wood was 10th.
Yeah, no, it looks like Adam Jepson has got it by 9 points. So
a place.
Yeah, by a place effectively. So and that's a hell of a fight, mate. Because Adam was down in about P25 at one stage, and we thought he was right out of it, and Nick had that sort of third in the championship wrapped up, but he's fought his way back to P12, and nothing Nick could do. Nick finished in 10th. And it was just enough points for Adam to maintain that third position in the championship by the looks of it. Alrighty, have we got Ben Jeffrey jumping in, or are we waiting for some?
We got Ben Jeffrey, so we'll go ahead and chat to Ben straight away, mate. We talked to you what feels like nearly an hour ago with all that's happened, but it was only about 15 minutes ago. The nerves, you were not confident. You were feeling a little unsettled. You were feeling a little out of whack, but you got the job done, mate. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a sweaty race. That's a 2-hour sprint. Yeah, even the last lap still wasn't convinced, so whew, I don't know what to say. All sorts of emotions right now.
So Ben, talk me through the middle of the race period where second safety car come out. You guys were in the lead. You had to make a call whether you came into the pits or not. There was a group of cars from about P10 down, including the eventual race winner Harry Dodds and Andrew Dutch, who came in and did what we all considered was an early pit stop. Talk us through what was going through your mind then. Were you really, because you were in chance for the race win, were you thinking about the race win, or were you just focusing on championship?
Yeah, no, of course, up to that point, I was sort of had the race under control, I thought, and then I was watching the time and I was like, it's getting close to the window, but when I saw them pitting, it's too big a gamble, I thought, to pit from the lead, so I just had to stick it and hope there's no more safety cars, but that just, made for an exciting race.
Yeah, it certainly did. Look, as it was my crew chief call to stay out, as a as a sort of experienced crew chief, I would have said stay out and race for green, but the third and fourth safety car sort of did you in then, and advantage the other guys. That's racing, and that's the calls you've got to make at the time. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah. But yeah, you came out of that pit stop sort of well and truly behind Scholesy too, so you had to sort of fight for that. Were you worried about the overtake at all?
Not really. I just did my best, came down Conrod and had the opportunity, so I did a Danny Rick and sent it. I haven't seen the replay. I thought the move was clean. I'm not sure what happened, but I didn't think there was any contact.
Oh, well, have a look at the replay and make up your own mind. I was all for the final call, so I think the right call was made in the end. So good on you. Congratulations, mate, and well done for the whole championship.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Well, Ben, the floor is yours, mate. Obviously, championship now over. Who would you like to thank? Because I can guarantee you there's a room full of boys back out there celebrating in your name at the moment.
Oh, definitely. All their 51 boys, we put a fair bit of time into this race particularly. Sharing setups, testing things and whatnot. And everyone there's got my back. So it was good. Shame some of the other boys had a bit of drama. So, I don't know where everyone finished up. But also massive shout out to the Premier Endurance League guys. This has been an awesome series. So can't wait for the next one.
Congratulations, mate, and enjoy the celebrations because I think there's a pretty cool trophy headed your way sometime in the near future, mate. And congratulations on the championship, and I'm sure we'll see you back for season 2.
Yeah, nice. Thanks again, guys.
Most important question, actually, before I let you go: does the number change? Is the number 1 coming out now, or you leave the 150 on?
Oh yeah, if they'll let me, yeah. Bloody hell.
Mate, signature, you got to do it now.
Yeah, for sure.
Mate, congratulations. All right. This just in, Ben Jeffrey to run number 1 next season.
Thanks, guys.
Good on you, Ben. Awesome.
We'll go ahead and grab from P number 3 from that race, and we'll move our way up the podium. Pete, this one's all yours, brother.
Harry Dodds. No, Alan Coleman, P3, mate. What a cracker of a race. I was saying to the boys earlier, you were sort of mid-pack there. You weren't really craving our attention. Second safety car, bang, there's Alan Coleman racing and mixing it up with the leaders in the championship, mate. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, first lap, or first corner. I'm not too sure exactly what happened there, but put me back a bit and then sort of just tried to put my head down and then, looped it after the other safety car. Just got caught out with the cold tyres and, then just I was trying to catch up to Dutchy and Dodds right at the end, but just needed to get past Edwards like a lap or two before, I reckon. But other than that, it was a good race. Yeah,
no, cracking race. And there was, because of the strategies in that second safety car, it sort of mixed the field up with the, some of the faster guys sort of back down into the sort of P8 to P12 area and sort of put the pressure on everybody. Did you feel it with Ben Jeffrey coming up behind you in the last stages of the race?
I wasn't really focusing on who was behind me. I was just looking at the gap between the top guys. I was just like, it needs to come down, it needs to come down, it needs to go faster. But all of them were racing really good.
Yeah, I think from what we watched, there was a lot of really good racing across the field. And Bathurst always brings out the tricky times, right? You touch a bit of grass, you hit a bit of concrete, you come over the mountain and you go into the dipper and you might lose a bit end. And there's always some hard luck stories and always some really good luck stories, as we saw with some cars coming through. So, mate, to be able to spin it at Bathurst and end up on the podium, you've taught me a lesson, as Scotty will sort of explain to you at one stage in your life. But congratulations on P3. Floor's yours, mate, if you want any shout-outs.
Just all the guys at Premier Endurance League, Jimmy, Rick, all the guys behind the scenes like Fonz. He's been helping out with the trophies and everything. I can't remember the guy's name that's been helping him, but yeah, you guys are all doing an awesome job. You guys broadcasting, just smashing it. It wouldn't turn out the same without all of you guys. So cheers for helping out. Yeah,
good on you, man. Now you're coming back for season 2?
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
100%.
Looking forward to seeing you on the track, and a few more of those P3 results, and we might see you up in the top 10 of the championship.
Yeah, hopefully I can sort of string the whole season together and not just have a couple races.
Always a difficult thing in combining Sims with life and trying to battle the mountain at the same time. So, mate, congratulations on your P3. That's an awesome result, and leave this championship on a high. And we'll look forward to seeing you back on track with season 2.
Cheers, mate. You guys have a good night.
Cheers, mate. See ya. All righty, Scotty. That was Owen, P3. Come to join us. I think Nolan might be trying to find Andrew or Harry for us.
I believe we've got Andrew Dutch for the next one. And Keegan, you got this one. This interview's all yours, brother.
Mr. Andrew Dutch, what an absolute drive from 34th, basically the back of the grid, all the way up into P2. How was that, mate? You must have had a wild ride through tonight.
A lot of luck went my way, to be honest. Yeah, I've missed obviously most of the season due to a surgery, and I sent Jimmy a message and asked if I could come back, and I was just going to potter around. That's why I didn't set a time in qualifying, and I think it was the second or third safety car. I was in a good position to pit, which was cutting it fine to get me to the end with fuel, but done it, took tyres, and then the few safety cars at the end really helped me out. So yeah, it was a good little run there.
You had a really good battle with Dodds towards the end there. You were right in behind him for the last few laps. Did you think you were stronger than him at any points, or was it fairly even around the track?
No, so I was definitely better over the top of the mountain, and I figured out pretty quickly that I could go deeper under brakes than the Merc. But the Merc obviously had a better straight line speed, I think, than the BMW. So on the last lap there, I tried to get a good run out of Forest Elbow, but actually ran wide, and I think I might have just brushed the wall. So didn't give me the run that I wanted going down into the chase. So I'm considering where I started, I was happy to settle for second place.
Yeah, mate, it was an absolutely awesome drive from you. Unfortunate about missing a couple of races, because it would have been good to see you feature in a few more. Are you coming back for season 2?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, so I'll be here for season 2. Fully recovered now. So yeah, once the next season starts, I'll be here from the get-go this time.
Awesome. Good to hear. Have you got anyone to shout out? Any sponsors, anyone to shout out before we finish up?
Yeah, first of all, obviously, Jimmy and the boys for putting this all together. You boys for the commentary and everything. And yeah, just my sponsors. Just got a few mates on board. So Grindtech Flooring, Next Gen Physio, Anonymous Gloves, Anderson's Flooring. So they've all given me something to work with that I can put on the car and make it look half decent.
Awesome. Very good result, mate. Awesome to watch you driving around tonight. Good luck for next season. See you then.
Thanks very much, boys. Have a good night.
And finally, one more interview we've got to make before we'll call it a night. We'll call it a championship. We'll call it a season. Showing up in the final round for his first race of the season. He had pace early on in the stints, and it was difficult to keep the 981 thing attached to that lead pack. Harry Dodds, mate, I could see the grin without even seeing you.
Of course you can. Like, that's probably why you didn't watch me that last thing. Or did you?
Oh, we were watching. We were absolutely watching, mate. You get control of the race handed to you. You get control handed to you at an opportune time, but you've still got to make the end of the race. You've still got to place the car in all the right spots. You've still got to make sure that you get the thing home. You've still got to make sure that you tick all the boxes. It's not an easy thing to do around the mountain.
Oh, 100%. It's not. Like, this place, you really got to respect it. And yeah, I tried to give as much respect as I did. And got a win on debut, which is pretty amazing considering where I started.
Mate, talk us through obviously that first stint. We saw you cutting your way through. You made a few moves. You got your way into that top 6, and then all of a sudden you started to fall off the back end of that pack. It was not easy to stick with those guys at all. Was that tire fade? Were you struggling to keep the front end of the Mercedes underneath you?
So it was more to lean towards just try and push out early, see what my pace was like, because obviously I never raced a lot of these guys before, apart from Scalzi. So it was just seeing what their pace is like, and if I was able to keep up with them, I'd try to stick with them for as long as I could. But if it started to really pace started to pick up, then I'll just try and back it off. I was still going pretty hard, but it's trying to just back off the pace, just to see what it was like later on. And it didn't take tires in that first stint.
Mate, tricky race from both ends of the field here tonight. Obviously, cutting your way through at the mountain. Dramas early on. We saw a number of cars getting through, but then it was also dramas in the mid pack. How easy was it when you pit? Were you worried about where you popped out in terms of the race strategy? Because there was quite a fair bit going on there.
Depends which point of the race you're talking about. Early on, I wasn't too worried because it was a long race and I wasn't too bothered where I was. But when it got further into the race, I was starting to really just get my head down and trying to focus on where I was going, and that eventually led me to that second safety car. When that came out, I had the opportunity popped up. So spot Braden, who I'm very unfortunate for him. He drove got pretty unlucky early on. So he and I were debating whether to pit early on or stay out, and we tried to react to what the others would do. But then eventually we started to, as we got further onto the second lap with the safety car, we made a gamble call. We actually pitted under that second safety car, and we got I reckon probably best undercut I've ever done, really.
Mate, obviously a tricky race, man. I mean, you're at the back end of a season here. This is sort of earmarked a big cultural shift for you. And you've been dealing with a new team in the last 6 months, and all obviously you do is go from strength to strength. This is not the first result of this kind, and I'm sure as heck this won't be the last. You've had pace. How comfortable have you been feeling since joining the Frog Leap Juice stable?
I reckon it's a lot in a lot better headspace. It's a great bunch of guys. We're racing pretty much almost every night in a bunch of different categories. Some of our guys today raced in the majors Le Mans 24. So well on to them. I don't know where they finished, but hopefully they did all right. I'm really gelling well with these guys. We're bonding well as a team, and I reckon there's going to be a lot of great results.
Mate, congratulations. Floor is yours to thank all the sponsors that make it possible for you.
Oh, great. This might be the first time. But I think the first time I'll stuff it up. Now we've got Juiced Energy is our primary sponsor of the side of the car there. Toyo Sim, Pet Store Company, Eddie's PC Repairs, All Ports Gaming, and hopefully, and I think we've got a new sponsor coming on the board. I don't know who it is or what the info is about that, but hopefully soon more to come.
Mate, congratulations on the win, and I'm sure we'll see you out for season number 2.
Maybe we'll see, as long as there's no clashes with other leagues, and then I should be all right to join in.
Mate, congratulations, and we'll chat to you in a couple of weeks' time. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is season number 1 of the Premier Endurance Racing League in the books. And, well, Pete, we'll start with you. Look, could we have asked for a better race there for the season finale?
No, I loved it, mate. I love the fact that the top 15 to 20 cars were racing all within about a second of each other for their best laps. So that just says it's a good, close racing group, and with strategy it can mix it up. I love the fact that we had 2 races. We had a race for the race tonight, and we had a race for the championship, and it wasn't just the champion driving away. And all kudos. The team from Premier to allow you and I and Keegan to come on board and talk crap like we do for a couple of hours, have a bit of fun, but enjoy the racing. Thanks to those lads. I think they've put on an awesome series. I think the schedule having races about once a month rather than every week is a fresh thing for iRacing. Keeping the iRatings contained is another fresh thing for iRacing. I think the boys are doing a really good job, and glad to be a part of it. And nice to see the end of one season, a championship crowned, another one in the next season, and who knows, we might have to get some tyres burnt next season. Otherwise, I'll have to get more iRating.
I was about to say, Keegan Baker, don't you fit inside this field? Isn't this a perfect little series for you to come run?
It would be, actually, yeah. I'm about 2.1
Too bad.
at the moment.
Too bad you're stuck here in the guilty box.
No, I'm stuck at the guilty box. I'm either here or I'm in race control. I don't get to do any racing.
You don't get to have any fun, Keegan. Mate, look, you've got to throw out your first ever commentator's curse. You've got to wet your feet. You've sat here with the big boys. I think you're done. I think you better tell John from 24/7 Race Control, or 24/7 Sim Services. That's it. Keegan Sutton Baker is now a commentator and no longer a race controller.
I don't think he's going to like the sound of that. But yeah, I've absolutely enjoyed being with you guys over the last couple of rounds. Something I've always wanted to do. You guys make it easy. It's been really, really good fun. We've had some awesome racing. Honestly, some of the best racing I've ever seen. And I've watched a lot of racing, spectating, doing race control and stuff like that. And some of it can be a little bit boring. But this was just off its chops the whole time. Like, there was strategy, there was safety cars. We didn't know where it was going to go. And it all came to a head right at the end, and we had a really, really good battle for the win, and a really good battle for the championship. I thought it was over after that, after we saw that second safety car, but then we got a couple more, and everyone just came right up close together, and we had some awesome moves and some really awesome battles. It was so intense. It was awesome. Really good fun.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen that racing out there tonight, if you've seen all the drama and you've been watching along with the trials and tribulations, the sponsors are now up on screen. I'll tell you why that's really, really important. If you're looking to get yourself into a simulator, the sim experts are Gamer Gear Direct. They can sell you a wheelbase, the pedals, the sim rig, everything that you need to get yourself started in simulated racing. And even if your name is Peter Baxter, you like a little bit of golf, there's some simulated golf there as well. Don't forget your flight sim stuff as well. I was actually keeping my eye on a lot of that stuff over the last couple of days. And Virtual Motorsport Mentor, because even the professionals need coaching sometimes. It's elite services to get you to that next level. It's Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Chris Purnell and the team over there are a lovely set of people. If you are actually looking for coaches, those are the guys I tend to recommend to just about everyone. I'm now sitting here just saying that because I'm on the screen saying that, but I can't stress you enough. Chris has actually coached me. Chris is actually a genuine guy. Pete, we've got about 20 seconds left here to sort of say last comments of the season. Anything you want to say to sort of wrap it up?
No, thanks, Premier. Awesome series. Well done.
Yep, see you back next season. Just about the same comment. Keegan, any last words?
Yeah, thank you, Premier, for having me on, and thank you for an awesome season. It's been really, really enjoyable. Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, your season number 1 champion, Ben Jeffrey, by 0.3 of a second. What does season 2 have in store for us here at the Premier Endurance Racing League? Well, you'll have to come back in a few months and find out. We'll see you then.
This broadcast of the Premier Endurance League on 24/7 Sim Services is brought to you by Gamer Gear Direct, the simulation experts, and by Virtual Motorsports Mentor, where even champions get coached.